Chapter 227. About 4 hours later in Mount Tai. At this moment, Jun Haoyan, Emperor Xia, and Gu Yuehuang were walking side by side, quickly advancing forward. Now they had already left the cold glacier. The surrounding environment had changed. All of them were towering trees that were hundreds of feet tall. Each giant tree needed at least 10 people to wrap their arms around it. Here, any random vine was as thick as a water tank. All of this looked extremely strange. During this period, the three of them encountered some animals that were larger than those outside. Some were even 10 times larger than the animals outside. Most importantly, although the creatures on Mount Tai did not have a very strong cultivation base, their physical bodies were extremely strong. They were much stronger than the monsters outside of the same realm. This place was like an ancient forest that existed in the primordial era. Everything here was astonishing. It was filled with all kinds of poisonous insects, giant snakes, and so on. These poisonous insects and giant snakes were not only strong, but they also carried a strong poison. Even if it was an ordinary origin core stage expert, if they were bitten, they would probably lose their lives on the spot. Overall, this was a very dangerous area. Of course, this was nothing to Jun Haoyan and the other two. The three of them were already elites at the peak of the Transcendence realm, and had extremely terrifying strength. They were not afraid of these things at all. What really made them feel uncomfortable was not these poisonous insects, giant snakes, and vines. It was the suppression that existed in this world. During this period, as the three of them continued to advance into Mount Tai, they realized that the suppression between heaven and earth was getting stronger and stronger. Now, even flying in the air was difficult. Although this suppression did not affect the inner yuan in their bodies, it was extremely difficult to fly in the air. One had to know that the three of them were all at the peak of the Transcendence realm. Now they could not even fly in the air here. This was simply inconceivable. Now that we've walked out of the mountainside and are heading towards the peak of Mount Tai, I think the others should be the same. At this time, Emperor Xia spoke. In his opinion, the martial artists who entered Mount Tai through the true Dragon Gate could only reach the mountainside at most. Everyone was at the same starting line. No one would reach the peak at this time. Just now, they had also met a few cultivators who were heading towards the peak of the mountain. Mount Tai was simply too big. Even with the strength of Jun Haoyan and the others, if they wanted to reach the peak of the mountain, they would need at least 10 days. After all, the peak of Mount Tai had already reached the outer realm, and it was surrounded by many stars. The height of Mount Tai was simply inestimable. It was even approaching the height of an ordinary star. They hadn't reached the 5th realm of a mortal realm yet. Of course, they needed a lot of time. Brother Xia, let's hurry up and enter the mountain peak, Jun Haoyan said to Emperor Xia. He had a feeling in his heart that there was definitely something good at the top of Mount Tai. Although this feeling was absurd, Jun Haoyan was very sure in his heart. The sky seems to be getting dark. At this moment, Gu Yuehuang raised her head to look at the sky. At the same time, an extremely strange aura descended and swept out in all directions, causing everyone's hair to stand on end. Just as Gu Yuehuang's voice fell, heaven and earth seemed to be responding to her words. The entire void began to change. At this moment, another strange change occurred. Waves of cold wind blew from the void and swept out in all directions, bringing with it a bone-piercing chill. It was different from the chill he had encountered in the glacier previously. Jun Haoyan felt that this chill actually contained a gust of yin qi. This gust of yin qi seemed to be able to directly ignore true origin and enter one's body without any hindrance, causing one to feel extremely cold. At this moment, the entire world had turned dark. Even the light of the stars in the sky had disappeared. Looking up, one could only see the gloomy sky. Jun Haoyan and the other two stood where they were, and didn't continue to move forward. After some observation, they suddenly realized that the night that had suddenly descended seemed to be very different from before. In fact, at the Transcendence realm, one's eyes had already broken away from the mortal body. There was no difference between night and day. In the night, they looked no different from day. It could be said that the night of the Wushan continent had no effect on them at all. However, what shocked them was that the night that had descended had actually caused them to lose their vision. Now that they were on Mount Tai, The feeling of night that they hadn't experienced in a long time actually attacked them once again, making them feel the most realistic feeling. Moreover, they realized that the stars that were very close to the Wushan continent had also lost their luster and became extremely dark. Not even a trace of starlight could be seen. One had to know that when Mount Tai had just started to shake, the starlight was incomparably dazzling and eye-catching. Now, however, nothing was left, only faint afterimages. At the same time, between heaven and earth, a strange, cold, and gloomy aura quickly attacked. This aura made Jun Haoyan and the other two extremely unhappy. This feeling of not being in control of everything makes me very unhappy. At this moment, Emperor Xia was frowning, looking extremely unhappy. One had to know that he was a born crown prince and had cultivated the way of the emperor since he was young. His life was destined to be dignified and glorious, like the sun in the sky, shining brilliantly on the world. However, at this moment, he felt as if the sun was covered by a black cloth, and he felt a little suffocated. The emperor's qi in his body seemed to be suppressed by this darkness and could not be manifested, which made him extremely unhappy. Jun Haoyan heard this and slowly nodded. He was also very unhappy with the aura here, as if something was secretly spying on them. Look at the moon in the sky. At this moment, Gu Yuehuang's voice suddenly sounded. Then the two of them looked up. When they saw the scene clearly, their pupils shrank, and their eyes were filled with disbelief. As it turned out, the pure and flawless divine moon hanging high in the sky had already started to darken. Then, traces of blood-red energy began to seep into the divine moon. A moment later, the divine moon in the sky had completely turned into a snow moon. This snow moon also looked extremely abnormal. The color of the blood moon was a very thick blood red, as if it had been watered with the blood of countless people. Moreover, a dark, cold, ruthless and bloodthirsty aura continuously surged out from the blood moon. This aura made one's skin turn cold, and could not be dispelled no matter what, especially when the blood-red light from the blood moon fell. The entire Mount Tai was dyed red. What the hell is going on? Looking at this, Emperor Xia was shocked. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. Even Emperor Xia himself had only seen such a grand occasion a few times. Even in the historical records of the Vermilion Bird dynasty, such a situation could be found. At this moment, Emperor Xia's mind was filled with frustration. This situation had completely exceeded his scope of understanding. Where did this Mount Tai come from? I wonder if the situation in the Wushan continent is the same as here? Gu Yuehuang said as she stared at the blood moon in the sky, her face turning pale. At this moment, the entire Mount Tai was dyed blood red. This scene was truly unbelievable. Gu Yuehuang wanted to know if these strange changes were only happening in Mount Tai, or if they were affecting the entire Wushan continent. It should only be happening in Mount Tai. At this moment, Jun Haoyan suddenly spoke. His eyes looked at the sky, emitting a strong light, as if he could see through everything. If it were not for the fact that this was Mount Tai, there would be a strong suppression in the void, preventing him from fully displaying his divine abilities. Otherwise, he might really be able to see what was happening on the blood moon. However, since it was being suppressed, he could still feel that these changes were only happening on Mount Tai. At this moment, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia were frowning. Under such circumstances, should they continue to move forward? Just as the three of them were hesitating, an extremely shrill scream suddenly reached their ears. This scream was extremely miserable, as if it had encountered the most terrifying thing in the world. It was a heart-wrenching scream. It was as if it had encountered the cruelest punishment in the world, and could not bear the pain. Especially at this moment, Jun Haoyan and the other two were in the endless darkness, which was extremely eerie and terrifying. Then, the three of them looked at each other and made a decision to explore. In the next moment, the three of them did not hesitate at all. Their bodies turned into streams of light and quickly moved in the direction of the scream. The shrill scream just now came from a higher place on Mount Tai. When Jun Haoyan and the other two continued to move up, the suppression they felt became stronger and stronger. However, this still could not stop the three of them from moving forward. After half an hour, the three of them finally arrived at the place where the scream came from. However, when they arrived, there was not a trace of any aura left at the scene. Seeing this, the three of them were stunned. The three of them could be said to have heard the previous scream very clearly. They were sure that they had not heard wrongly. Then, the three of them decided to search the surroundings to see if they could find anything. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes suddenly flashed. At the same time, the golden chi and blood all over his body suddenly erupted and blasted towards one direction. It was as unstoppable as a thunderbolt. "Come out!" Jun Haoyan's thunderous roar instantly shattered all the surrounding trees and flowers. The chi of heaven and earth was turbulent at this moment. In the next moment, a shadow flickered and fell to the ground, revealing a human figure. At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang immediately looked over. Then both of them exclaimed, "The Holy Son of Luotian." At this moment the three of them, including Jun Haoyan, were very shocked. The figure in front of them was actually the new Holy Son of Luotian, Holy Land of Luotian. Just now, the Holy Son of Luotian had hidden his body in a treasure, but it was still detected by Jun Haoyan, who had a powerful soul strength. At this moment, the three of them all looked at the Holy Son of Luotian. At this moment, the Holy Son of Luotian was trembling non-stop. His eyes were dull and cold sweat was dripping down his forehead. Especially when he saw Jun Haoyan and the others. His face turned pale, as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. "Holy Son of Luotian, why are you here alone? I remember that you brought in more than 20 true disciples of Luotian Holy Land. Where are they now?" At this moment, Gu Yuehuang looked at the Holy Son of Luotian and asked in confusion. She clearly remembered that the Holy Son of Luotian had brought in many disciples of Luotian. The strange thing was that the Holy Son of Luotian was the only one left. Hearing Gu Yuehuang's question, the Holy Son of Luotian did not answer at all. His eyes were lifeless, and his body was trembling all this time. "It seems that he has suffered a great shock." At this moment Jun Haoyan said slowly. He looked a little helpless. Looking at the Holy Son of Luotian's current state, it was obvious that he had suffered a great shock. When Luotian pulled him out of the treasure and saw him, he was once again frightened. That was the reason for the current situation. After all, Jun Haoyan was not known as the Holy Son's killer for nothing. After a while, the Holy Son of Luotian finally regained a little of his consciousness. He looked at Jun Haoyan and the others and pointed at a place with a trembling finger. "My junior brothers and the others were taken to hell. They were taken to hell." The Holy Son of Luotian's voice was full of fear. His face was full of panic, and his whole body was trembling. In his words, he actually mentioned the word hell. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan and the others were shocked. In the martial god continent, there was no such thing as hell and ghosts. Even if there were, it was only because some ancient martial art practitioners' souls were too strong and would not disappear after death. Once these souls were born, they could only affect some ancient martial art practitioners and ordinary people with low cultivation levels. However, for someone like Jun Haoyan, who was in the Dharma characteristic realm, his rich blood energy made these souls not dare to get close to him. Therefore, there was no such thing as ghosts in the martial god continent. However, according to the legends of the martial god continent, there were no ghosts in this world. Everything was fabricated. Now, the Holy Son of Luotian was saying that he had encountered ghosts, and that his true disciples had been taken to hell by these ghosts. How could they believe this? Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang immediately thought that the Holy Son of Luotian was crazy. "Holy Son of Luotian, what did the ghosts you saw look like?" Only Jun Haoyan did not directly refute the Holy Son of Luotian's words. Instead, he asked very seriously. He wanted to know more about the situation. During this period, as they continued to move into the inner part of Mount Tai, they discovered more and more secrets hidden in Mount Tai. First there was the sealed true dragon, then there was the blood moon in the sky. Now there were the ghosts and hell that the Holy Son of Luotian had mentioned. Everyone couldn't help but feel shocked. Chapter 228. When the Holy Son of Luotian heard Jun Haoyan's question, his eyes were filled with fear. It was as if he did not dare to think about what had happened. However, he knew better than anyone else what kind of person the Holy Son of Luotian was. After all, Luo Tian was the kind of person who would kill at the slightest disagreement. He was such a powerful and domineering person. If he did not tell the truth or made up a lie, he would probably be killed on the spot. By then, no one would be able to save him. The holy son of Luo Tian suddenly panicked at the thought of this. Then, without any hesitation, he began to explain. Those ghosts came out of the gates of hell. It's true. I'm not lying to you. I saw them come out of the gates of hell with my own eyes. The word hell was carved on it. I'm telling the truth. When some people came out of the gates of hell, I asked my junior brothers to check it out. I did not expect my junior brothers to join those people so quickly. I saw that their faces were pale. It was obvious that they had all turned into ghosts. At this point, the holy son of Luotian's eyes were filled with horror. His body could not stop trembling, and his face was filled with disbelief. It was as if he did not want to think about what had happened. What had happened earlier had a great impact on him. His words stunned Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia. This was because they could tell that the holy son of Luo Tian was telling the truth. Jun Haoyan furrowed his brows slightly as he thought to himself. Could ghosts really exist in this world? He could not believe it. The people of the Wushan continent were all cultivators. Even if there were ghosts, they would not be afraid. However, seeing the holy son of Luo Tian in such a state, they were puzzled. They're here again. It's them. At this moment, the holy son of Luo Tian screamed. His whole body was trembling. The next moment, he turned into a stream of light and disappeared. He had escaped in front of Jun Haoyan and the other two. In fact, Jun Haoyan did not stop him. From the looks of it, the holy son of Luo Tian was already crippled. However, they were more concerned about the group of ghosts that Holy Master All Heaven had mentioned. Sure enough, just as they turned their heads, the entire world darkened again. Under the blood-red moonlight, a faintly discernible Fengdu necropolis appeared in front of them. That huge city was extremely large, and it was hidden in the dark fog. There were all kinds of pavilions and towers inside, and they emitted a gloomy light. Seeing this scene, Jun Haoyan and the other two were shocked. Look, the city gate. At this moment, Xia Tianzi spoke with a tone of shock. An endless gloomy aura appeared at the entrance of Fengdu necropolis as figures walked out from it. It was a group of people. Every single one of them was dressed in extremely ancient clothing, to the point where it was impossible to distinguish them. However, outside of that group of people, there were many tall figures. They were clad in armor, holding their weapons and riding horses. Yang energy filled the sky. Jun Haoyan and the other two opened their eyes wide and looked into the city. They could even see the Suzhua Bridge and a river in the city. They seemed to be the rumored bridge of helplessness and river of forgetfulness. The river water was yellow, and there was an endless amount of turbid qi, as well as countless white bones and ghosts. They were fighting in the river water, trying to escape, but they could not do so. As for the bridge of helplessness, it was so long that they could not see it. This scene completely shocked Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang who were present. Even Jun Haoyan was shocked. There were hundreds of people in that group. Some of them were wearing hemp clothes, while others were wearing Taoist robes. Moreover, they all looked very ancient and could not be seen clearly. Most importantly, Jun Haoyan and the other two saw a true disciple, wearing All Heaven's true disciple robes. The Holy Son of All Heaven was telling the truth. They moved forward silently. Everyone's faces were extremely pale, and there was no sign of life at all. There was only an endless amount of death aura that made one's hair stand on end, and their bodies turn cold. Behind these people, there were soldiers wearing simple sabers. Some of them were holding heavenly spears, while others were holding up a large flag. The flag was already tattered, and it was impossible to see what was written on it. If one looked at it for a long time, they would feel endless resentment rushing into their minds. Those people who walked out of Fengdu did not have any signs of life. They closed their eyes tightly, and their bodies turned black as they walked forward aimlessly. It was as if they did not know where they came from, nor did they know their destination. These were Yin soldiers. Seeing this, Emperor Xia's expression changed drastically, and he said, Yin soldiers. Emperor Xia directly said the name of the obstructing troops, which made everyone feel a chill. Een soldiers, the legendary soldiers of hell. They usually escorted the souls of the dead to hell to be reborn. However, they actually appeared in Mount Tai. Moreover, these Een soldiers were in Fengdu. So where were they going? Under the scarlet blood moon, they only felt a bone-piercing chill. Jun Haoyan thought that in the legends of the world, there was once a supreme almighty, who created hell, and established the 6 paths of reincarnation. But this was a very long time ago, and it was a legend. There were no records of it. Although some people could achieve immortality, no one could be sure that they would have a next life. A person's death was like an extinguished lamp. Although immortals could live forever, they were not immortal. As long as one was strong enough, even gods would fall. When gods died, they would not have a next life, unless their souls were still around. At this moment, in front of them was a legendary hell. This was a very inconceivable thing, because it was something that only appeared in legends. Even in the martial god continent, the world of cultivators, it was only a legend. Now it had really appeared in front of them. This was unimaginable. At this moment, Jun Haoyan and the others were witnessing this scene with their own eyes. Is there really a legend of the afterlife? Guiyuahuang asked. Looking at Fengdu in the distance, and the group of Een soldiers, she found it hard to imagine. Emperor Xiao was even more so. He stared straight ahead, as if he wanted to see through the scene in front of him. But even if it were the two of them, they would not dare to approach casually, because the aura was too uncomfortable. When Guiyuahuang said that there was an afterlife, Jun Haoyan also fell into deep thought. The saying of an afterlife must be fake. This was almost certain, because there had been no such saying since ancient times. Even the saying of the reincarnation of Buddha in Buddhism did not seem convincing. Hell and reincarnation didn't exist at all, unless there was a peerless powerhouse who had suffered a huge calamity. Then in the end, he would leave behind his soul and cultivate for a lifetime. This was also possible. But even so, the soul that was left behind would still be him. It would not change. At most, it would be lost. The traces that belonged to that powerhouse between heaven and earth would not disappear. It would only be him, not another person. And death could be understood as true death. Even the traces between heaven and earth would be erased. Therefore, in the next life, it was impossible to become another person and live again. But now that Jun Haoyan and the others had seen the Een soldiers, it was difficult to explain. Could it be that hell really existed in this world? In Jun Haoyan's guess, perhaps this was just a mysterious inheritance. I don't know. Have you heard of the underworld continent? At this moment Xia Tianzi spoke, thinking of something. Jun Haoyan and Guiyuahuang nodded at this moment. Of course, they had heard of the underworld continent. Legend had it that it was an ancient world that opposed the god realm. Those in the immortal god realm were all gods. And in the underworld continent, there were ghosts. However, in the ancient legends, the ghosts in the underworld continent were only powerful earth cultivators. Their cultivation system was different from the god realm, and even the other great worlds. Legend had it that there was a supreme powerhouse in the underworld continent. He was once a supreme powerhouse in the immortal god realm. Later he comprehended a supreme technique. He broke through the god realm with the power of ether, and descended on the underworld continent. He wanted to create the 6 paths of reincarnation, and rule over everyone. It was the life and death of the gods. And he did so. Under his power, the underworld continent and the god realm began to oppose each other, becoming an existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the god realm. But in the end, he angered the immortal god realm. A terrifying powerhouse came down and fought with him. In the end, the ruler of hell, along with the underworld continent and the 6 paths of hell that he created, became a forbidden land and disappeared in the Trichiliocosm. No one knew its location, but there were rumors that the 6 paths of hell had always been there, and the Fengdu hell had always been there to receive those who had died. Whether it was demons or gods, they had to pass through the underworld continent and be judged by the ruler of hell. But all of this was a legend. When the god realm sent down its will, it declared that hell had disappeared. And now, the Fengdu that Jun Haoyan and the others saw was really like the underworld continent described. So these people are not ghosts, but the inheritance of the ruler of hell. Guiyue Huang said with such a speculation. This was because ghosts were simply too shocking. Even if it was the inheritance of the underworld continent, it also made it easier for her to accept. Before everything is clear, it's better not to jump to conclusions. At this moment, Jun Haoyan said. He naturally knew about the underworld continent, but now that Fengdu had appeared in Mount Tai, it was indeed a little unpredictable. Mount Tai and the underworld. These two seemingly unrelated places were actually related to each other in Jun Haoyan's opinion, because in the legends of his previous life, this was the case. As for whether it was the real underworld, or just the inheritance of the underworld world, he couldn't be sure. Why don't we go in and explore? Emperor Xia was really afraid that the world would be no match for him. He directly made such a suggestion. Enter Fengdu to explore. As soon as Emperor Xia said this, Guiyue Huang frowned. Who knew what dangers there would be in that place? If it was really the underworld continent according to the legends, they probably wouldn't be able to cause any waves if they entered. It would be great if we could really enter, but now it seems that there's no chance. At this moment, Jun Haoyan said. At the same time, he gestured for the two of them to look at the place where Fengdu was previously. Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang raised their heads in surprise and disbelief, because Fengdu, which was still there just now, had disappeared at this moment, as if it had never appeared. As for the group of Yin soldiers, they were getting further and further away, as if they had left the martial god continent and were slowly disappearing. Why does everything look fake? Guiyue Huang asked, her face full of disbelief. The huge city that was still there just now had disappeared, and even its aura could not be felt. She couldn't understand it at all. All of this is real, but we can't come into contact with it yet. Jun Haoyan smiled and said, whether it was the underworld or not, it was not something they could understand. Even the underworld continent had fought with the divine realm. That level was too high, and perhaps even the Xianhuang continent couldn't compare to it. Even if they knew, there was nothing they could do. There are too many secrets in Mount Tai. If it's not at the peak, what will appear at the peak? Emperor Xia sighed. Ever since he entered Mount Tai, he had become more and more confused. He really wondered if there was really an opportunity on Mount Tai. Now it seemed that it was getting more and more terrifying. No one knew what would appear at the peak of Mount Tai. We'll have to go to the peak to find out. Jun Haoyan said and looked at the peak of Mount Tai. He had a feeling that all the questions he encountered now would be answered there. However, he didn't know what kind of method it would be. The night was very quiet. Even the demonic beasts bred by Mount Tai didn't appear or make a sound. It was so quiet that it made people tremble all over, like the silence before the apocalypse. Countless people had more or less seen terrible things on this night. The night that was soaked in the brilliance of the blood moon was unbearable, even for those who cultivated the earth. As for what exactly happened on this night, no one knew. Jun Haoyan and the other two didn't plan to set off directly. They just stayed where they were. Their intuition told them that if they moved forward rashly tonight, they would probably encounter unimaginable horror. Just like that time passed bit by bit. The blood moon in the void also returned to its previous appearance when it was close to daytime. Once again, it became white and flawless, without any impurities hanging high in the void. Not long after, Jun Haoyan opened his eyes. Infinite divine light was surging in his eyes. Golden chi and blood spread out. It was like the lightning punishment of the gods. It rumbled and could destroy all evil. It was also at this time that the sun rose from the east, shooting out thousands of golden rays, illuminating the world. Endless light swept across the earth, and the whole world seemed to be restored to light again. When Guiyue Huang felt this aura, she, who was originally vigilant, immediately relaxed. This was because this aura was familiar and made her feel very comfortable. It's time to go. At this moment, Jun Haoyan stood up, and a smile appeared on his face. The aura all over his body had reached its peak. After a night, he had strengthened the primordial spirit Dharma power in his body once again, and it was more complete than before. Guiyue Huang and Emperor Xia both nodded at this time, and left with Jun Haoyan. Although Mount Tai was very far away, it was nothing in their eyes. Even if they couldn't fly, it was still the same. At this moment, they only had one goal: and that was to advance to the peak of Mount Tai. At the peak of Mount Tai, light shone in all directions. It looked grand and majestic, like a divine mountain. When Jun Haoyan arrived with Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang, the entire peak of Mount Tai was already filled with cultivators. Previously, they had noticed that there were hundreds of thousands of cultivators who had entered the True Dragon Gate. There were countless strong practitioners above the primal core stage. But now, there were only tens of thousands of cultivators left at the peak of Mount Tai. It seemed that many cultivators had already suffered last night. Chapter 229. When Jun Haoyan and the others appeared, the cultivators present also cast their moonlight on him. The holy son of Hao Tian is really here. He didn't encounter any calamity. That's for sure. The holy son of Hao Tian is now the #1 genius in the Eastern Wilderness. He might even be the #1 genius in the martial god continent. That's right. However, the people from the other great worlds didn't suffer any casualties. Some cultivators spoke up. They weren't very surprised by Jun Haoyan's arrival. After all, Emperor Xia was with him. However, they didn't expect the martial god continent to suffer so many casualties. However, the people from the other continents were unscathed. This made them feel extremely unbalanced. An even deeper thought was that there was a great secret within Mount Tai, and that there was a great creation. However, it belonged to the cultivators of the martial god continent. They didn't want to be taken away by the other great worlds. However, only Jun Haoyan and the others could compete with them. It could be said that they had really placed their hopes on Jun Haoyan. However, Jun Haoyan didn't care about this. He only looked at the center of Mount Tai. A tall stone tablet stood there, exuding an ancient and vicissitude aura. It vaguely emitted a strong pressure, as if it could suppress the world. This stone tablet was the one that Jun Haoyan had seen at the bottom of Mount Tai. It was engraved with the words Jade Emperor Cauldron. Jun Haoyan looked over and saw that the peak of Mount Tai was empty apart from the stone tablet. He didn't even see the ancient altar that Emperor Xia had mentioned. This scene made Jun Haoyan and the other two feel very puzzled. Could it be that the peak of Mount Tai was so empty without any secrets? I was wondering who came. So it's the three of you. Why are you so late? At that moment an extremely arrogant voice sounded. Hearing the voice, Jun Haoyan and the others immediately looked over and saw that it was Qing Fengzi. At this moment, Qing Fengzi was sitting cross-legged on a rock as he looked at Jun Haoyan and the other two with a sharp gaze. I thought that the so-called #1 prodigy of the Central Plains, Emperor Xia, and the #1 prodigy of the Eastern Wilderness, Haotian Holy Son, had died on the way. In the next moment, Bai Libing from the fantasy spirit continent appeared with a smile. He sat beside Qing Fengzi and looked at Jun Haotian and the other two with disdain. In fact, the three of them had already reached the summit of Mount Tai yesterday evening. They were indeed much faster than Jun Haotian's group. When they saw this scene, they all thought that Jun Haotian and the other two had encountered trouble along the way. This level of strength was not worthy of being their opponent at all. Sigh, what a pity. I didn't expect that we would have to do it ourselves in the end. But it doesn't matter. It's just a little more effort. At this moment, the genius of the boundless continent, Wu Tian, opened his eyes slowly and declared with a haughty tone. Before they entered Mount Tai, both sides had already shed all pretense of cordiality. There was no point in continuing to be courteous now. When Xia Tianzi heard the three's mockery, he slowly narrowed his eyes. A violent aura surged from his body and formed a golden dragon. Ha ha ha, this is great. The three of you are here. This saves me the trouble of looking for you one by one. As the #1 prodigy of the Central Plains, Emperor Xia's strength was unparalleled, and he had always been arrogant. When he heard the three's mockery, he naturally wouldn't back down. Immediately after, the Jade Lake Saint, Guiyue Huang, also took a step forward. Her beautiful face was filled with coldness. The sword lotuses around her bloomed one after another, exuding a terrifying aura. These terrifying sword intents were enough to cut through space and sever mountains and rivers. Boom! Seeing this scene, Qing Fengzi and the other two stood up immediately. The three of them couldn't stand Jun Haoyan and the other two. At this moment, they were even prepared to attack and kill Jun Haoyan and the rest. During this period, Jun Haoyan's gaze never fell on Qing Fengzi and the other two. He directly ignored the three of them. His attention was still on the stone tablet on the Jade Emperor Peak. Rumble. At this moment, the peak of Mount Tai began to shake violently. Beams of extremely sharp light shot out from the peak of Mount Tai. In the next moment, everyone felt an endless pressure descending from the sky. It was as if an ancient paragon had been reborn and swept across the world. At the same time, countless cracks appeared on the stone tablet on the peak of Mount Tai that was carved with the words Jade Emperor Peak. Every crack exuded an extremely terrifying aura. It was as if the world's barrier had cracked open. Bang! In the next moment, the stone tablet completely exploded. Every piece of it shone with extremely dazzling light. Everyone stared intently at this scene. Within that resplendent light, they seemed to have seen a majestic sky that was incomparably vast. The heavenly palace stood on the peak of Mount Tai, causing the entire world to shake. Boundless light spewed out continuously. In an instant, it filled the entire area and shrouded the peak of Mount Tai. Everyone stared at the scene in front of them in astonishment. Even the conflict that had occurred earlier was forgotten at this moment. Before entering Mount Tai, everyone already knew that there was a huge secret and a great opportunity in Mount Tai. If they could obtain the inheritance and opportunity in Mount Tai, it would be enough to defy the heavens. When the endless divine light descended, everyone was within it. Carefully feeling the divine light, everyone felt as if they were taking a bath. They felt extremely satisfied. The light was like dancing fairies. It was constantly surging and jumping in their pores, flesh, and blood. Feeling the changes in their bodies, everyone knew that the divine light that descended just now was beneficial to the cultivation of the martial artists. If they were to soak in it for a long period of time, it would be extremely easy for them to break through. Rumble. At this moment, another thunderous sound came from the void. The deafening sound instantly swept through everyone's mind. At this moment, everyone looked in the direction of the sound. He saw that the sky was slowly appearing, and it was emitting a shocking luster. It was different from the Fengdu that Jun Haoyan saw previously. The current Fengdu felt extremely huge and boundless. The aura that was revealed in Fengdu was cold, resentful, violent, bloodthirsty, and various other negative emotions. These emotions were enough to affect the mind of a martial artist. Everyone looked at the sky in front of them. It was filled with extremely dazzling divine light. It was as if it could cut through everything. It was filled with a grand aura. Just by looking at it, there seemed to be a conflict. When good fortune came to one's heart, one would feel extremely comfortable. Now the sky was the representation of holiness. It blocked all abnormal auras. Especially in the heavenly palace, there were various pavilions and towers. It was as if they were built by the sun, moon, and stars. It was boundless and filled with all kinds of divine light. It made people feel as if as long as they entered the sky, they would enter the realm of the gods. It made people yearn for it. Could this be the legendary heavenly art? At this moment, Qing Fengzi's face was filled with shock. Looking at the majestic palace in front of him, Qing Fengzi was extremely excited. The heavenly palace is the legendary supreme power of the realm of the gods. It is the existence that commands the entire realm of the gods. At this moment, Bai Libing could not help but speak. At this moment, her mind was filled with the legend of the sky and her yearning for it. Entering the heavenly palace will mean entering the realm of the gods. You will achieve eternal life. Looking at the situation, this seems to be the heavenly palace. I have seen it in the ancient books. At this moment, Soundless, who was always cold, widened his eyes in excitement. He squinted his eyes and looked at the heavenly palace. His face was filled with excitement. To them, the heavenly palace was a legendary place because it was created by the supreme existence of the immortal god world. As long as one entered, they would be favored and could become a supreme existence. They were the supreme existence of the 3,000 continents and the realm of the gods. As one of the top 100 existences in the 3,000 continents, they definitely had a good understanding of the realm of the gods. Legend had it that the higher the ranking, the closer it was to the realm of the gods. It was even more so for the number 1 Xianhuang continent of the 3,000 worlds. They were only second to the realm of the gods, and could communicate with the god Tribulation at any time. Therefore Qing Fengzi and the others knew much more about the realm of the gods than Jun Haoyan and the others. However, they did not know why the heavenly palace would appear here, in the Wushan continent, that was not even in the top 500. However, thinking about it carefully, the Wushan continent was one of the top 10 continents in the ancient era after all. It was normal for the heavenly palace to appear. When Jun Haoyan and the others heard this, they were shocked. They were also slightly shocked. They knew about the legend of the heavenly palace. Even they were shocked. Not to mention the other experts. Not to mention the people who were present. Is the heavenly palace on Mount Tai? Will we enter the realm of the gods if we enter there? That must be the case. We can surpass all levels, and reach the heavenly palace to become a true god. This is a heaven-defying fortune. Heaven-defying fortune. Let's go. We must enter and become supreme experts. Someone said as he looked at the heavenly palace in the void. He was extremely excited and wanted to enter and become a supreme expert. However, Jun Haoyan looked on coldly. Although he was shocked, he was not overly excited. The heavenly palace was a supreme place in the realm of the gods. Why would it appear on Mount Tai? Moreover, it was so sudden. Even if it was the heavenly palace, it would not be so simple to Jun Haoyan. After all, it was an existence that was above the 3,000 worlds. Therefore, he was not excited. He maintained his calm and waited quietly. As for the others, at this moment, they all stepped forward, wanting to enter the heavenly palace and obtain supreme fortune. However, they were shocked to find that no matter who it was, they could not fly in the sky in this place. Even a genius like Qing Fengzi could only walk one step at a time. He could not fly. It was as if something was suppressing them, preventing them from flying. Yes, it is the heavenly palace in front of us. If we fly, it would be blasphemy. Bai Li Bing said. A look of understanding appeared on her face as she made such an explanation. The others nodded at this moment. In front of the heavenly palace, one had to walk one step at a time. It was impossible to fly. Otherwise, it would offend the gods. But if that is the case, how are we going to go up? A genius from another world said. The sky was above the void. If they could not fly, it meant that they could not walk up to the heavenly palace. If that was the case, wouldn't they not be able to obtain the fortune of the gods? Bai Li Bing and the others frowned. Yes, if they could not fly, it meant that they could not go up. If that was the case, wouldn't it be a waste of effort to enter Mount Tai? Boom! Boom! However, at this moment the void rumbled again. Mysterious rays of light shot out from the heavenly palace and entered the peak of Mount Tai. As if to answer the doubts of the crowd, the divine rays surged together and kept changing, connecting with the heavenly palace. Not long after, a huge white jade staircase appeared between the heavenly palace and the peak of Mount Tai. The staircase looked very vast. It was one step at a time, reaching the top of the heavenly palace. There were a total of 999 steps. It was very similar to the heavenly steps that Jun Haoyan saw in the small Lane temple. The only difference was that the staircase was very big. It was several times bigger than the ordinary staircase. The higher it went, the bigger it became. Every step was like a platform. It contained endless mysterious aura. It was as if stepping on it was like ascending to heaven. The staircase went up one step at a time. It was very mysterious. It was filled with layers of halos, as if it connected the distance between heaven and earth. Everyone looked at the staircase in surprise. They looked up the staircase and directly looked at the heavenly palace. They knew that as long as they walked up step by step, they would definitely reach the heavenly palace. No one doubted it. In their opinion, this was the opportunity given to them by the gods to ascend to heaven and become gods. Everyone was full of excitement. Their bodies were trembling as they waited for the heavenly palace. Look, at this moment, a martial artist's voice was heard. Immediately, everyone looked in that direction. There, countless divine lights were constantly surging, and a stone tablet appeared on the stone tablet that was originally engraved with the Jade Emperor neck. It was completely different from the previous stone tablet. The The stone tablet that had just appeared was extremely mysterious, and it was surging with a vast divine aura. Ascending to the heavenly palace. Right at that moment, everyone was watching. Countless people were excited. This heavenly staircase was actually called the Heavenly Staircase of Ascension? Did that mean that as long as they climbed it, they could really become gods? It must be so. Climbing the heavenly staircase means becoming a god. Becoming a god. It's an opportunity. It can directly become a god. Ha ha ha, this is a supreme fortune. At this moment, everyone was excited. If the heavenly palace that appeared before still made them have doubts in their hearts, now the heavenly staircase of ascension in front of them had really dispelled those doubts. Who didn't want to become a god? Even a supreme being would want to become an immortal and indestructible god. Not to mention a group of ants like them. At this moment, Qing Fengzi and the others took a step forward and looked at the vast heavenly staircase. Their eyes were full of excitement. When the heavenly staircase was completely formed and turned into a substance, they would directly start to ascend to heaven. Is it true that we can ascend to immortality here? Emperor Xia was puzzled. He looked at the heavenly palace, and then looked at the heavenly staircase in front of him. He was really in disbelief. He couldn't believe it. Gods were too far away from them. They couldn't reach them at all. That was the goal of a supreme. Their goal was only to become a supreme. Chapter 230. At this moment, the sudden appearance of the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven could actually help them directly cross this step and become a legendary god. This was simply unbelievable. However, for some reason, ever since they came here, there had been a voice in their minds telling them, as long as they climbed this stairway to heaven and reached the heavenly palace, they could directly become a god. On the way here, they had already seen too many extraordinary things. The terrifying real dragon, the strange Fengdu. These were originally legendary things that could not be seen at all. However, they had seen them all. Compared to these, stepping into the heavenly stage at this moment and becoming a god was not impossible. Holy Son of Haotian, what do you think of this stairway to heaven? At this moment, although Guiyue Huang was also very excited, she did not step forward for some reason. Instead, she looked at Jun Haotian, wanting to hear his opinion. As for the others, they were waiting for the stairway to heaven to form, ready to step in at any time. As for Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang, they planned to follow Jun Haotian. We don't have to rush. Jun Haotian was silent for a moment, his gaze lingering on the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven for a moment. Then he said slowly. At this moment, Jun Haotian was probably the only one who could still remain calm. Jun Haotian had always believed that the path to becoming a god was extremely difficult, and even a sovereign might not be able to break through. Even a sovereign might fall on the path to becoming a god, and eventually pass away. However, now the heavenly palace and stairway to heaven that suddenly appeared claimed to be able to directly help people become a god. Jun Haotian still did not believe this. Jun Haotian had always believed that the path of cultivation had to be cultivated by oneself. Only then would it truly belong to oneself. At the next moment, the stairway to heaven was completely formed at this time, standing between the peak of Mount Tai and the heavenly palace. The vast heavenly palace emitted layers of sacred aura, constantly descending as if it could deify everything. The moment the stairway to heaven was formed, countless people channeled their true origin and rushed forward. However, for some reason, no one directly ascended the stairway to heaven. Although it was called the path to becoming a god, it was actually an unknown thing. No one knew what would happen after entering it. You go take a look first. Qing Fengzi looked at an 8th stage Imperial Dao realm cultivator beside him. He wasn't from the martial god continent, but another continent. When that person heard Qing Fengzi's words, his body began to tremble. His expression was filled with terror. She instinctively wanted to refuse. However, at this moment, not only Qing Fengzi, even Bai Li Bing, Wu Tian, and Mo Yin had surrounded him. They stared at the warrior in front of them, their expressions full of killing intent. As long as he refused, they would immediately attack without any hesitation. Then, they would continue to find other people to go up. That warrior felt an incomparably heavy pressure, and his entire body was trembling nonstop. He didn't want to go up, but he didn't want to die either. At this moment, the cultivator steeled his heart and directly walked out. He used his most powerful power and divine ability, and directly headed for the first step of the heaven rank. Boom! The moment he ascended the stairs, the entire heaven staircase trembled slightly and rumbled. It was also at this moment that the steps emitted layers of light that surged into his body, causing the warrior to become even stronger. In a short instant, he went from the 8th stage of the Imperial Tao realm to the 9th stage of the Imperial Tao realm. It was even to the extent that the tribulation of the heavens and the earth had been resolved. At this moment, countless people witnessed the scene before them, and they simply didn't dare believe their eyes. He'd actually broken through just by ascending the heaven staircase. It's the true heaven staircase to become a god. It's absolutely the heaven staircase. Once we ascend it, we'll be able to become a god. Someone roared loudly. Countless people were extremely excited as they stepped forward. Just a single step was enough to allow an Imperial Tao realm cultivator to break through in the Earth Tao realm. If they reached the pinnacle, would they really be able to become a god? On the other hand, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't hesitate at all. They took the lead and directly strode forward. At the same time, countless people moved as well. They intended to ascend the heaven staircase. No one would be indifferent when they were about to become a god. Even Xia Tianzi was the same. He was eager to make a move. However, Jun Haoyan, who stood by his side, still didn't move. Are we still not moving? At this moment, Xia Tianzi, who stood beside Jun Haoyan, spoke. His face was filled with lust and impatience. When that cultivator ascended the first step just now, he clearly felt it. He'd really broken through in his cultivation. Moreover, there wasn't any exaggeration. He'd obtained considerable benefits, and no one would doubt it. Even Xia Tianzi felt that this step was a supreme fortune. Perhaps it could allow him to break through to the 5th level of the immortal realm. From the origin spirit to the 5th level of the immortal realm. That was extremely difficult. Without fortune and a terrifying foundation, it was almost impossible to break through. Now that the heaven staircase was right in front of them, how could they not be excited? However, Jun Haoyan didn't move. Although Xia Tianzi was anxious, he didn't move either. He looked at Jun Haoyan in front of him, wanting to hear his opinion. After all, the three of them had come together, so no matter what they encountered, whether it was fortune or calamity, they had to advance and retreat together. In this regard, Xia Tianzi was still very steady. This was also the reason why Jiang Chun had a good relationship with him, unlike the others. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes were still indifferent after hearing his words. He only looked at the heaven staircase of the heavenly palace. Let's wait for a while more. His words were very calm, and there wasn't any emotion in them. This made Guiyue Huang and Xia Tianzi look at him in a new light. He's still so calm even after encountering the fortune of becoming an immortal? Moreover, after hearing Jun Haoyan's words, the two of them took a deep breath and calmed themselves down. They didn't act rashly. At this moment, on the other side, Qing Fengzi and the others had already entered the heaven staircase. Without any hesitation, they crossed a few heaven staircases at once. Boundless light was circulating around their bodies. It was as if every part of their bodies was divinized. Those lights were like beautiful notes that were dancing on their bodies. The 10 steps had greatly benefited Qing Fengzi and the others. They were faintly close to the peak of the origin spirit Dharma realm. However, their cultivation realm was very high and their talent and foundation were very strong. The energy of the 10 steps was not enough for them to break through to the 5th immortal realm. However, they had already expected this. After all, the energy needed to break through to the next realm was extremely huge. Furthermore, there were 999 steps in front of this heavenly palace. In their opinion, the energy was definitely enough for them to break through to the 5th immortal realm. The energy on the steps is very pure. It can be endlessly poured into the body to nourish the origin spirit. Qing Fengzi said with a slight smile on his face. His eyes were filled with shock. At this moment, Bai Libing and the others nodded. They were indeed worthy of becoming a heavenly god. Even the continent they came from did not have such a fortune. However, the pressure on each step seems to be greater than the previous one. It's like a divine mountain pressing down on our shoulders. Wu Tian frowned. He too felt a lot of pressure after ascending the heaven staircase. Especially the changes on the steps. It made him a little shocked. This was just the 10 steps. If they were to ascend more than 100 steps, how much pressure would they have to endure? That's why this is God's test for us. Once we pass it, we will enjoy endless benefits. Mo Yun's heart was filled with excitement, especially after he felt that his cultivation had become increasingly strong. He had an overbearing elder brother who had always suppressed him, leaving him with no room for resistance. However, now that he was at Mount Tai, a place of fortune, Mo Yun saw the hope of surpassing his elder brother. Moreover, what made him most excited was that as long as he continued to ascend, he would definitely be able to break through to the 5th immortal realm. At that time, he would challenge the holy son of Haotian again, and choose to wipe away his humiliation. Everyone had their own plans, but they all had a common goal. It was to ascend to the peak and witness the glory of the peak. Then they would obtain the divine fate and rule the world. The few of them felt the energy and continued to move forward. In a short while, they had ascended more than 20 steps. Moreover, for their Dharma powers, after every 10 steps, the pressure they had to endure would increase by 1-fold. It would be very difficult for them to continue moving forward. However, this also stimulated their potential. It was as if they were climbing to the peak and continued to move forward. Finally, as they continued to move forward, someone reached the 30th step. From then on, the gap between the geniuses began to stand out. The first to reach the 30th step was Qing Fengzi. He was the strongest and had extremely high talent. Behind him were Wu Tian and Bai Libing, who stopped at the 28th step. Their eyes were solemn, and they seemed to have become opponents. No one wanted someone to reach the peak before them. If that happened, wouldn't their own fortune be completely gone? As for Mo Yun, he was only standing on the 23rd step, as if he was under great pressure. Even so, he was still climbing. At this moment, Mo Yun wanted to use his ascension steps to reach the immortal realm. At that moment, he channeled all the power in his body. His vast magic power surged continuously as he walked up another step. He didn't give up. After all, there were 999 steps in this ascension steps. He hadn't even reached 1% of the steps. He knew that he couldn't stop here. However, the other earth cultivators were all around the 10th step of the ascension steps. They seemed to be under great pressure and couldn't move forward. Hundreds of thousands of cultivators stood on the ascension steps, but it wasn't crowded. They were all trying their best to move forward. It was like the true path of cultivation. One had to climb to the peak and achieve their own supreme path. Now the only ones who hadn't reached the top were Jun Haotian and the other two. They stayed where they were and didn't move. Moreover, the three of them weren't very anxious. In their opinion, even if they climbed at the back, they could reach the peak. How is it? Did you see anything? Emperor Xia asked again. A trace of curiosity appeared on his face. He knew that Jun Haotian had been observing the ascension steps. However, he didn't know which step he had reached yet. He was eager to know. Jun Haotian, on the other hand, shook his head. He really couldn't see anything. Rumble. However, at that moment, an aura belonging to the immortal realm spread in front of countless people. Someone had broken through to the immortal realm. This aura appeared out of nowhere, causing everyone to raise their heads and look in front of them. On the steps, Mo Yun's body was emitting a strong light. All kinds of auras were surging out continuously. Even someone like Qing Fengzi turned around, focusing all of his attention on him. At this moment, Mo Yun was emitting the aura of the immortal realm level 5. It was incomparably strong. The primordial spirit between his eyebrows had merged with his body. This was the biggest difference between the immortal realm and the primordial spirit Dharma plane. It was the fusion of the primordial spirit and the body. Then the body would transform and leave the original state to form a new body. The vitality and constitution would be reversed. Then, the lifespan would break through 10,000 years and become a true ancient powerhouse. Mo Yin was going through this step now. The strong light engulfed him, and his primordial spirit completely disappeared, allowing him to take another step. At this moment, whether it was in terms of aura or strength, he was much stronger than before. Countless people were shocked when they saw this scene. The immortal realm level is advancing so quickly? Yeah, the ascension steps are really magical. Originally, the immortal realm level was difficult to break through. Even if it did, it would take a long time. But now Mo Yin completed it so quickly. Is it because his talent is extremely high? Or is it because of the ascension step? Everyone present spoke in disbelief, because this speed was too fast. The fusion of the primordial spirit and the body required a long time, and it required sufficient preparation. But now, Mo Yin was too fast. It was almost completed in an instant. It could be said to be inconceivable. However, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't have much of a reaction after seeing this scene. Because in cultivation, the deeper the foundation and the higher the talent, the harder it was to advance. This was something that everyone believed. And the harder it was to advance, the stronger one would be after advancing. The immortal realm level 5 was too important, especially when it came to the emperor realm in the future, or even higher realms. The deeper the foundation in this realm, the greater the benefits one would get in the future. Advancing in advance wasn't a good thing. However, they were still a little anxious in their hearts. After all, Mo Yin had already reached the immortal realm. Immediately, Qing Fengzi and the others didn't hesitate and continued to climb. As long as they continued to climb, it wouldn't be long before they also obtained a good fortune and reached the immortal realm level 5. So they climbed harder and harder, and at this time, more and more people were faintly breaking through. This was especially true for those with lower cultivation bases. Every time they climbed, they would at least save many years of bitter cultivation. Ha ha ha, you didn't expect it, right? I'm the first one to enter the immortal realm. At this moment, Mo Yin was familiar with all the power, and became a true eternal giant. Every move was very shocking. After entering the immortal realm level, he only felt that his strength in all aspects had increased tremendously. At this moment, he focused all his attention on Jun Haotian. Holy son of Haotian, you defeated me before. This time I'll wash away the shame. The first thing Mo Yin did after reaching the immortal realm level 5 was to find trouble with Jun Haotian to regain the face he had lost before. Countless people looked at Jun Haotian at this time. Jun Haotian, who still hadn't reached the heaven stage to become a god. They didn't know why this holy son of Haotian didn't make a move with such a good fortune. However, at this time, Jun Haotian heard Mo Yin's words and a smile appeared on his face. He walked out slowly, and every step was as heavy as an immemorial divine mountain, looking extremely terrifying. You don't need to say it, I will kill you myself. Jun Haotian spoke, as calm and domineering as ever. Even if Mo Yin entered the immortal realm level, he wasn't afraid. Chapter 231. Previously, outside Mount Tai, Jun Haotian did not kill Mo Yin, because he felt that it was unnecessary. He was just an ant. Killing him would be a disgrace to his status. However, Mo Yin had actually entered the immortal realm. Now Jun Haotian was a little interested in him. However, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia naturally did not understand Jun Haotian's strength. They saw that Jun Haotian did not take Mo Yin seriously, and were worried that he would underestimate him. Gu Yuehuang walked in front of Jun Haotian and said slowly, Holy son of Jun Haotian, Mo Yin was originally a genius of the Moat continent. His strength is extraordinary. Now that he has officially entered the immortal realm, his strength will be even more terrifying. After all, the gap between the immortal realm and the Dharma characteristic realm is too great. Hearing this, Emperor Xia also nodded in agreement. As a genius, he naturally knew how strong the foundation of a genius was. Previously, Jun Haotian could easily defeat Mo Yin, because they were in the same realm. But now, Mo Yin's strength had reached the immortal realm, and his strength had changed dramatically. Therefore, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang were a little worried about Jun Haotian. However, Jun Haotian smiled when he heard their words and interrupted them. Don't worry, it's just the immortal realm. He can't do anything to me. Moreover, I just want to verify something. This Mo Yin sent himself to me, which is exactly what I want. In fact, Jun Haoyan already had an idea in his heart, but he did not announce it. It was simply because that idea was too shocking. Moreover, he was not completely sure and had to experiment. Now that Mo Yin took the initiative to provoke him, it was a good opportunity. When Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang heard Jun Haoyan's words, they were even more puzzled. They did not know what he wanted to verify. However, just as the two of them were puzzled, Jun Haoyan, who had not moved all this time, suddenly took a step forward. Let's go. We can now step onto the heaven stage. The moment he finished speaking, Jun Haoyan stepped onto the first step of the heaven stage. Instantly, a vast amount of pressure swept over. At this moment, Jun Haoyan only felt an endless pressure pressing down on him, as if he was carrying a huge mountain on his back. Of course, Jun Haoyan did not care about this. At this moment, countless ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared within his body. They raised their heads towards the sky and roared, possessing the power to support the entire world. A mere pressure could not stop his footsteps at all. In the next moment, Jun Haoyan's body emitted a brilliant divine aura. It was as if he had entered a realm where no one could stop him, and he directly crossed 7 steps. At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang also reacted and stepped onto the heaven staircase. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was like a true god that had descended to earth. It was as if he was taking a leisurely stroll, as he ascended the heaven staircase step by step, without any resistance. Soon he caught up with Mo Yin. He looked at him coldly and said, "I'm here to take your life." Jun Haoyan's voice was very calm, but it was filled with unparalleled dominance. His sharp eyes exuded a murderous aura. This scene instantly attracted the attention of countless cultivators. Even some of the cultivators who were walking up the stairs turned their gazes over. Actually, they didn't really understand Jun Haoyan's actions. Mo Yin was a genius of Moke Continent, and he'd even broken through to the Eternal Realm at this moment. After breaking through to the Eternal Realm, Mo Yin's strength would be extremely terrifying. But now it seemed like not only was Jun Haoyan not afraid, he was just as before. Merely this attitude caused others to feel inferior. This was the gap between people. Sometimes, no matter what, it was impossible to make up for it. When Mo Yin heard Jun Haoyan's words, his eyes narrowed slightly, and his expression was filled with boundless rage. No matter where it was, the 5th Eternal Realm was a terrifying existence. Even if it was a continent ranked in the top 10, they were overlords of a region, and they could be called true experts. Yet now, after entering this realm, he was actually provoked by Jun Haoyan. How could he accept this? Mount Tai was different from the ruins of Xianyuan Supreme. Cultivators above the Imperial Dao realm were not allowed to enter. Even those who had attained the primordial spirit Dharma idol would be killed inside. Otherwise, Bai Ming Han wouldn't have hidden in a coffin for 30,000 years. Although Mount Tai didn't allow experts below the 5th Eternal Realm to enter, it was within the permitted range to cultivate to the Eternal Realm. Therefore, Mo Yin could now use his own strength without any scruples, which belonged to the 5th Eternal Realm. Immediately, he stared directly at Jun Haoyan, and the true yuan around him surged, displaying the true might of an ancient overlord. The heavenly halberd in his hand kept hissing, as if it could break through space. With Ling Sun's killing intent, it was completely possible for it to overturn the sky and overturn the sea. If it were anyone else, even a genius, they would frown in the face of such pressure. However, Jun Haoyan wasn't afraid at all. He just quietly looked at the person in front of him. His body was crystal clear, and his black hair kept fluttering in the wind. His plain long robe added some supreme elegance to him, making people want to submit and worship him. "You're good. Today Mount Tai will be your burial ground," Mo Yin said as he waved the halberd in his hand, and it exploded with power that reached the sky. The strong light pierced through the eyes, and it was even more dazzling than the sun. At this moment, Mo Yin made his move. All kinds of aura burst out, and it seemed as if the mountains, rivers, and earth were shaking behind him. The huge halberd in his hand turned black, as if it had been watered with black divine blood. It was filled with a violent and bloodthirsty aura. At this moment, he used all his strength, wanting to kill Jun Haoyan on the spot. Rumble, the world was roaring, as if it was singing praises for Mo Yin. Even though countless people were standing below, they could still feel the horror of such an overlord's strength in their hearts. It was as if they would all be crushed in the next moment. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan wasn't afraid at all. He stretched out his hand and patted the halberd gently. Countless people saw this scene. They saw that Jun Haoyan's palm was sparkling and translucent, flowing with thousands of rays of light. It looked like colored glass, and it looked very yellow. The pores and blood vessels on it were flawless, as if the heavens had reached out their own palm. Boom! In the next moment, the halberd and the palm collided. Layers of power erupted, with Jun Haoyan and Mo Yin as the center. Layers of light that could be seen with the naked eye exploded and spread out. It was as if the world was going to be overturned, as if it was going to create a world of its own. Fortunately, this was the godly ascension stairway. Otherwise, if it was in the Wushan continent, any mountains, rivers, and earth would be directly destroyed and turned into ruins. Boom! There was another explosion. Jun Haoyan stood in place, his white robe spotless. Mo Yin, who had been repelled by him with one move, didn't retreat either. The power of the immortal longevity realm was too strong, so he didn't fear Jun Haoyan at all. Haha, do you still think it's the same as before? I'm already in the immortal realm. You want to defeat me with one move? Impossible. Mo Yin, who felt his own power, laughed loudly. Then, he used his strongest power to activate the heavenly dragon in his hand, emitting an aura that stirred the wind and clouds of heaven and earth. At this moment, his true essence, physical body, and so on were really too strong, completely incomparable to before. All kinds of power surged in his hand, and the heavenly halberd shot out thousands of rays of light, full of killing intent. Although it was only a supreme-grade magic artifact, he had already activated it to the extreme. Its attack power could be said to be earth-shattering. At this moment, Mo Yin seemed to have turned into the most terrifying existence, holding the heavenly halberd in his hand to kill Jun Haoyan. Even Qing Fengzi and the others were shocked. They had to be careful when dealing with Mo Yin's power. If they weren't careful, they would be seriously injured. However, Jun Haoyan seemed to be completely unaffected by this. He wasn't afraid. Streams of golden qi and blood spread around his body. The fusion of the saintly physique and the indestructible heavenly god physique created the most perfect body. At this moment, the 10-inch primordial spirit between his eyebrows opened its eyes. The holy light exploded, and the aura that belonged to the saintly physique exploded. The boundless blood qi turned into a dragon that enveloped this world. And Jun Haoyan also became the ruler of this area. It was also at this moment that Mo Yin held the heavenly halberd in his hand and instantly pressed it against Jun Haoyan's forehead. However, Jun Haoyan also formed a fist seal with his hand. The celestial demon god technique and the indestructible heavenly god physique merged into one and struck out a shocking blow. Boom! Crack! Under the vast power, the heavenly halberd directly shattered and turned into nothingness. The power that Jun Haoyan displayed at this moment could be said to be unprecedented in the primordial spirit Dharma plane realm. It was so powerful that it defied the heavens. The terrifying power was released. Not only did it shatter the magic artifact, but it also shattered Mo Yin's body inch by inch. This power of 9 was really too strong. Even if he had the cultivation of the immortal longevity realm, he couldn't withstand it at all. One had to know that Jun Haoyan had even killed a peerless expert of the immortal longevity realm. Although Mo Yin was strong, he was definitely not stronger than Demon King Jiao of the same realm. Not only had the strike shattered his body, but it had also obliterated all traces of him in the world. In an instant, a rain of blood rained down on this flawless white jade staircase. Mo Yin, the genius of the Moat continent, died on the spot. However, Jun Haoyan was not injured at all. This was because he was observing this divine heaven staircase. The matter that he verified would soon have a result. Everyone's attention was on Jun Haoyan killing Moyan Sky. That invincible posture made countless people's hearts tremble. Even a genius whose cultivation base had reached the immortal longevity realm was killed so easily. Moreover, It was so fast that there was almost no sloppiness. Some people could even see that Jun Haoyan hadn't used his true strength. However, Mo Yin was still dead. Even if his cultivation had advanced, he still couldn't withstand the attack of this holy son of Haoyan Holy Sun. Everyone's heart trembled at this moment. Looking at the blood that kept flowing down the stairs, they felt a chill all over their bodies. This was especially true for those from other continents. Mo Yin was very powerful in their eyes. Even if he was defeated by Jun Haoyan before, it was only a defeat. Now he was dead. Death and failure are two completely different concepts. It proves that this martial god continent's holy son of Haoyan can't be provoked. Jun Haoyan looked at Heaven's Staircase, his eyes revealing a contemplative look. It seemed that Heaven's Staircase wouldn't disappear in a short period of time. What Jun Haoyan wanted to know now was what kind of reaction this divine Heaven's Staircase would have after he killed Mo Yin. Buzz! At this moment, in a situation that only Jun Haoyan could sense, a trace of abnormal power appeared on Heaven's Staircase. Furthermore, the flesh and blood essence energy left behind by the demonic clouds was easily absorbed and poured into the Heaven's Staircase to godhood. It was like a bloodthirsty demon, devouring human flesh and blood. However, this kind of thing was very secretive. If Jun Haoyan hadn't guessed it long ago, even he wouldn't have noticed this. Hair. Sure enough, it's just as I guessed. Go. Jun Haoyan muttered to himself. He had always doubted the authenticity of Heaven's Staircase and the mysterious power that could help people break through their cultivation. Now it seemed that there was indeed a big problem. At that moment, he didn't hesitate and directly transmitted his voice. Jade Lake Saint Brother Xia. As long as it's the power of Heaven's Staircase, you can't absorb it. Otherwise there will be a big problem. At this moment, the two people who had just ascended Heaven's Staircase heard Jun Haoyan's words, and their expressions changed drastically. Everyone who had ascended to this place could clearly feel their strength constantly increasing. That kind of pure power seemed to be absorbed by them without any restrictions. Ji Yin Huang and the others didn't notice anything fishy. Moreover, they also planned to use this power to improve themselves and break through to the immortal realm. But now, after Jun Haoyan's reminder, they immediately gave up. They didn't doubt Jun Haoyan's words in the slightest. Although the Heaven's Staircase in front of them seemed to be a huge fortune, they were all geniuses. In this aspect, they had great restraint and wouldn't act blindly. What? Brother Haoyan, did you discover something? Xia Tianzi transmitted his voice. Previously, he had heard that Jun Haoyan was going to verify something. Now that he heard his words, it seemed that he had verified it. Both he and Gu Yuehuang urgently wanted to know what secrets this Heaven's Staircase had that couldn't be known to others. I don't know these for the time being, so I can't come to a conclusion. Jun Haoyan transmitted his voice directly. He had verified some of his guesses. But as for what would happen here, even he wasn't very clear. Perhaps, only when he reached the true peak would he know. At this moment, he was standing on the 25th level of the Heaven's Staircase. It was as if there were 25 ancient mountains pressing down on his body, pressing down on his shoulders. However, Jun Haoyan didn't feel much about this. He quietly looked ahead. Layers of power continued to attack, wanting to fuse with his own power and increase his strength. Jun Haoyan chose to reject all of this. The power in his body belonged to him, and he didn't need the gift of the Heaven's Staircase. This action of his was naturally seen by the others. In front of Jun Haoyan, Phantom Continents by Libing stood on the 50th step of the Earth's staircase and watched coldly. Holy Sun Haoyan, you are really silly and cute. You actually chose not to accept such a huge fortune. Although she was shocked that Jun Haoyan had killed the immortal longevity realm Mo Yin, that was all. Because Bai Libing believed that it wouldn't be long before she could reach this realm. And whether it was talent, foundation, or other aspects, she was much better than Mo Yin. As long as she advanced, she would definitely be stronger. Chapter 232. Bai Libing firmly believed that she would not end up like Mo Yin. After breaking through to the immortal realm, he was still so weak. The holy son of Haoyan defeated him with a casual attack. It was as if he was made of paper. Bai Libing ignored all of this and continued to walk forward. At this moment, she swore in her heart that she must reach the peak of the heaven stage. She looked over and saw that the strongest Qingfengzi had already reached the 120th level of the heaven stage. Bai Libing could clearly feel that the power around Qingfengzi was getting more and more terrifying. At this moment, Qingfengzi had obviously touched that realm. Bai Libing could actually feel the aura of an immortal realm expert from his body. Seeing this, Bai Libing's heart tightened. She believed that at this rate, Qingfengzi would soon step into the immortal realm. As geniuses, Bai Libing and Wu Tian naturally did not want to fall behind. Therefore, they immediately increased their speed and chased after Qingfengzi. At this moment, they had already discovered the rule of the heaven stage. As long as the number of heaven stage experts who stepped on the heaven stage, they would receive more power in return. This meant that the person who had stepped on the peak would receive the most powerful power in return. Therefore, at this moment, Bai Libing and Wu Tian only had one goal. That was to surpass Qingfengzi. After Jun Haoyan stopped at the 25th step, he took a deep breath and walked out again. There must be some secrets above the heaven palace that were waiting for him to uncover. Whether it was the sealed real dragon, or Fengdu under the blood moon. He wanted to know these questions. At the same time, Jun Haoyan also wanted to know the final face of this Mount Tai. Hey look, something seems to have appeared on the highest heaven stage. At this moment, someone looked at the peak of the moonlight and exclaimed in shock. At the same time, countless people saw the 999th step in front of the heaven palace. There, a 9-colored altar slowly appeared, emitting boundless immortal light. That was a light that did not belong to the mortal realm. It was a divine light. A 9-colored altar suddenly appeared in front of them. Moreover, it was above the peak of the heaven stage, emitting endless immortal light that illuminated the world. This was not an ordinary divine light, but an immortal divine light that only gods could possess. Every single strand was blazing to the extreme, as dazzling as the golden sun. Above the 9-colored altars, there were 9 different types of immortal light. They intertwined together to form a beautiful picture. Countless people were mesmerized by the scene at the peak. It was as if they were witnessing the descent of an immortal. Legend has it that when an ancient supreme being reached the peak and broke through the shackles of heaven and earth, the 9-colored altar would descend from above after connecting to the gate of the divine realm. That's right. All the holy lands and imperial dynasties have such records. If the ancient supremes wanted to enter the door of the divine realm, they would have to use the 9-colored altar as a medium. Only then can one truly enter the god realm and become a true god. Does that mean that once I reach the peak and step over the 9-colored altar, I can become a god? Countless people's eyes were filled with longing under the magnificent divine light. After all, the 9-colored altar was something that only appeared when the ancient supremes became immortals. Most importantly, this altar represented a limit, and it appeared in the heaven steps to become a god. It made everyone feel that they had a chance to become a god. As long as they reached the top, they would have the chance. Especially Qingfengzi and the others who were closest. After seeing the 9-colored altar, their bodies trembled. They seemed to have seen the hope of becoming a god at this moment. The endless divine light seemed to be right in front of them. At this moment, everyone was captivated. Some martial artists whose cultivation were not strong even had no idea where the power came from. 2 steps later, he crossed several steps. Those people looked a little deranged at the moment, all for the sake of becoming gods. As for Jun Haoyan and Guyue Huang, they did not receive the power of the heaven steps, so they did not feel anything at all. It was just that the 9-colored altar at the peak was indeed incomparably magnificent, but upon closer inspection, it seemed incomparably illusory. What's going on with these people? Emperor Xia was a little puzzled. He looked at the martial artists around him, who were all erupting with powerful energy and fusing with the heaven steps. At this moment, these people's energy was also getting stronger and stronger, allowing them to reach even higher places. They were like crazy demons, only wanting to reach the peak. It seems that they have absorbed the power of the heaven steps, which caused them to become like this. Guyue Huang pondered. She could not see any hidden array on the heaven steps, nor could she see any abnormalities. It was just that the performance of their cultivation. It seemed that they were indeed affected by the power of the heaven steps, causing their minds to become chaotic. It seems that Brother Haoyan was right. There is indeed a problem with the heaven steps to become a god. Emperor Xia was very cautious at this moment. Fortunately, he did not absorb the power of the heaven steps. Otherwise, there might be a big problem. You two don't continue moving forward. I'll go and see what's going on. At this moment, Jun Haoyan transmitted his voice. He had already noticed something strange, but he did not know that these people would be affected by the power of the heaven steps. Then Jun Haoyan stepped out without hesitation. He did not move forward step by step. Instead, he crossed several steps with each step. As he continued to move up, the pressure grew stronger. Finally, when he reached the 50th step of the heaven steps, he felt as if he was carrying an entire world. But even so, Jun Haoyan continued to move forward steadily. In front of him, Bai Libing was completely attracted by the 9-colored altar and the immortal divine light. Her eyes looked a little crazy. Step by step, she continued to climb. It seemed that as long as she did this, she would be able to reach the peak. The path ahead is not the immortal path. There is also no place where you can become an immortal like you imagined. At this moment, a clear voice came from behind Bai Libing. It seemed to make her mind break away from the previous influence. She turned her head slightly and saw that Jun Haoyan, who was still in the 20s of the heaven steps, was actually standing behind her. And now, Bai Libing had already reached the 80th step. It seemed that if she went up further, she would reach her goal. However, she had just realized what Jun Haoyan had said to her. The path ahead was not the immortal path. This undoubtedly provoked Bai Libing. She immediately glared at Jun Haoyan with a condescending look. An ant like you is not qualified to become a god. The martial god continent is a declining place. Even if you work hard, that's all you can do. But don't even think about stopping me from becoming a god. At this moment, Bai Libing seemed to have lost her mind. She directly pointed out that Jun Haoyan was an ant and was not qualified to become a god. Especially her last sentence. Don't even think about stopping me from becoming a god. Hearing this, Jun Haoyan only smiled. This Bai Libing seemed to have been completely affected. There was definitely something wrong with this sky palace and the heaven steps to become a god. At this moment, Jun Haoyan did not want to argue with someone who had lost her mind. He was prepared to continue to reach the peak. As long as he did not integrate with the power of the heaven steps, he would be very safe. Boom! But at this moment, Bai Libing directly attacked Jun Haoyan. She transformed into thousands of shadows and filled every area in the surroundings. You ant! Are you trying to snatch the god's fate from me? Do you want to die? Her power was very strong. Especially at this moment, Bai Libing's power surged. From the primordial spirit Dharma idol, she directly transformed into the immortal longevity realm. At the same time, her cultivation continued to rise. She directly reached the peak of the immortal longevity realm. In a short moment, without any warning, Bai Libing's cultivation directly crossed a realm. It could be said to be a legend. Even the current Jun Haoyan could not do it. It was too terrifying, especially the warriors behind them. After seeing this scene, they were incomparably excited. At the same time, some people's cultivation continued to soar. Rays of light burst out. Everyone was receiving the gift of the heaven steps, and their cultivation soared. But at this moment, whether it was Jun Haoyan, Guiyue Huang, or the others, they all discovered a huge problem. Including Bai Libing, these people's cultivation soared. But like rootless duckweed, they swayed with the waves and were very unstable. It was as if in the next moment, they would be drowned by the waves. The cultivation they just received seems to be fake. Guiyue Huang and Emperor Xia's eyes were solemn. They only felt a kind of fear from the bottom of their hearts. This was because this method of obtaining cultivation was simply too strange. The most important thing was that this kind of cultivation was not stable at all. It was just obtained out of thin air. Even if it was used, there was not much power. It was like something that was given to you by others. It was not so smooth to use, and it looked like it could be taken back at any time. For example, Bai Libing had reached the peak of the immortal longevity realm. But this kind of cultivation always looked strange. If it was cultivated by oneself, it would be completely different. It was not like now, where the cultivation seemed to appear suddenly. And what Jun Haoyan said before was completely correct. There was a huge problem with this heaven step. Otherwise it would not be like this. At this moment, the power that erupted from Bai Libing was extremely terrifying. But to Gu Yuahuang and the others, it was not much of a threat. She only had the power of the immortal longevity realm. But even Gu Yuahuang felt that she could fight. And for those who appeared in this situation, almost all of them had more or less integrated the power given by the heaven step. When martial artists cultivated, the power they obtained would be much more stable than this. It was not like now, but it was a pity that these people did not seem to realize this. They only felt that their cultivation was constantly increasing. And as time went on, they slowly reached the realm that they had always dreamed of. Jun Haoyan felt this the most. Because now, Bai Libing in front of him was about to break through to the immortal longevity realm. That terrifying power kept appearing. Vast divine light spread. At this moment, there were countless shadows around Bai Libing. It was like a dream. Every shadow looked fake. But if one looked closely, they looked real. It was impossible to tell them apart. Holy Son of Haoyan, you want to stop me from becoming a god? Bai Libing opened her mouth. Every shadow let out the same voice. It was extremely sharp. It was like the roar of an evil spirit. It affected one's mind. It was unbearable. It was as if one was in an endless hell. When Jun Haoyan felt this, his face changed slightly. But soon he calmed down. This was a terrifying divine ability that belonged to Bai Libing. But he was not afraid. The furnace in his body kept moving. Rays of light appeared. This was the furnace nurturing 100 scriptures. It could absorb all divine abilities. So the divine ability attacks of other people would be more or less ineffective against Jun Haoyan. This divine ability was the path that he wanted to take. Now it seemed to be the right path. Because until now, there was no divine ability that could break away from the furnace nurturing 100 scriptures. Even Bai Libing in front of him was the same. Around him, the countless shadows moved and surrounded Jun Haoyan. On the other hand, Jun Haoyan raised his eyes and took another 2 steps forward. Boom! At this moment the heaven and earth shook. The heaven's step to become a god was filled with endless energy. It wanted to merge with Jun Haoyan's body. It seemed that the stronger the person who stepped on the heaven step, the more terrifying the energy in the heaven step would be. However, Jun Haoyan was not moved by this energy. He directly rejected it from his body. At this moment, Jun Haoyan did not have time to deal with this energy. He still had to endure the power of the heaven step, and Bai Libing's sudden attack. Boom! Indeed, at this moment Bai Libing attacked. The thousands of shadows also attacked. Thousands of rays of light shot out. Each ray of light was filled with killing intent. It was as if they wanted to kill Jun Haoyan. These rays of light filled the heaven and earth. They wanted to pierce through everything. However, at this moment, Jun Haoyan's body spewed out endless golden blood. He was like a sun. His body, in particular, was like a golden body made of glass. It was perfect and flawless, without a single flaw. When Bai Libing's killing moves came into contact with Jun Haoyan, they were useless. They were all destroyed. One had to know that at this moment, Jun Haoyan was only relying on the strength of his body to resist Bai Libing's attacks. How is this possible? My attack is useless against an ant like you? Bai Libing, who was standing on the steps, was shocked. She could not believe the scene in front of her. Although this was not her strongest attack, it was not something that a primordial spirit Dharma body realm cultivator could withstand. After all, she was now at the peak of the immortal longevity realm. Moreover, she had achieved it by ascending the heaven step. It was also because of the influence of the heaven step that Bai Libing felt noble. No matter who it was, they were only ants in front of her. Therefore, the fact that Jun Haoyan had blocked his attack was a great humiliation to him. Only by destroying this person's body and crushing his soul could she regain her dignity. I will show you what true power is. Bai Libing opened her mouth again. The vast aura around her surged, as if she was about to break through to the immortal longevity realm. The aura of the immortal realm appeared slowly. Bai Libing wanted to use her strongest attack to kill Jun Haotian. However, at this moment, Jun Haotian would not choose to sit and wait for death. His eyes burst out with resplendent light and layers of violence, as if they could tear everything apart. The blood around him turned into a dragon. Behind Jun Haotian, 12 demon gods appeared. They were no longer standing behind Jun Haotian. They were surrendering to him. Jun Haotian had cultivated this superpower to a terrifying level. He had completely integrated the power of the 12 demon gods. Without any superfluous movements, Jun Haotian punched out towards Bai Libing's clones. Rumble! It was as if the heavens and earth were roaring. The void was rioting and the stars were exploding. Jun Haotian's punch did not destroy a star. However, it was close. It was like a punishment from the heavens. Bai Libing, who felt the vast power, was shocked. She could not believe the scene in front of her. Her body was trembling. As for the bodies that she had created, they all shattered like bubbles. Chapter 233. At this moment, Bai Libing's body was cracking apart bit by bit. Then it turned into dust. Impossible, this is impossible. I am going to become a god. How can I die? Looking at Jun Haotian, Bai Libing's eyes were filled with confusion. She couldn't imagine it. She also didn't understand why she would die in the hands of the Holy Sun, a Transcendence Realm warrior, who was about to become a god. Jun Haotian naturally knew what Bai Libing was thinking. However, he didn't intend to say anything. Ever since she stepped onto the heavenly stage, Bai Libing had been immersed in the rapid increase of her strength. She didn't reject the power given to her by the heavenly stage, and completely ignored it. This power didn't belong to her at all. This power didn't come from her own cultivation. It was given to her by others. She was able to reach the immortal longevity realm, because she borrowed the power of others. At this moment, Bai Libing's strength was still increasing. She was about to break through to the immortal longevity realm. However, she had completely ignored a problem. The power she had obtained was incompatible with her. Whether it was her Dantian Sea of Qi or her physical body, she couldn't control this power for the time being. To be precise, this was a scam set up by the heavenly stage to temporarily lend her a bit of power. It seemed to be real, but in reality, it was all nothingness. Jun Haotian, who had been watching from the side, was very clear about this. Therefore, he wasn't afraid of Bai Libing's strength at all. At this moment, Jun Haotian's gaze landed on Bai Libing's completely broken body. The flesh left behind by the heavenly stage was devoured by the heavenly stage just like Mo Yun. It was like being fed back. Although it didn't seem like much, when he thought about it carefully, Jun Haotian was a little shocked. The heavenly stage who had become a god seemed to be alive. The heavenly stage who had become a god seemed to be alive. Knowing what had happened made people break out in cold sweat. At this moment, Bai Libing's death made the people who were ascending the heavenly stage start to react. Their eyes were filled with shock. Before this, they had been immersed in that kind of power, but Jun Haotian's might made them tremble all over. At this moment, they seemed to be a little sober. However, soon on the heavenly stage, a vast amount of power surged from the other side. This power was boundless and was transferred into everyone's physical bodies, allowing them to continuously improve. Even Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang felt this change in power, but both of them had received Jun Haotian's advice. That was why he rejected this power, not allowing it to merge with his body and be affected by it. However, that kind of power was really too strong. It continuously engulfed every corner of their bodies. What's going on? This kind of power? Emperor Xia's face was filled with shock. He realized that if he absorbed this power, he would break through to the immortal longevity realm. Moreover, it was a 100% breakthrough without any side effects. It was as if all kinds of delicacies had suddenly appeared in the eyes of a person who had been starving for days and nights. Under such circumstances, anyone would be tempted. Even Emperor Xia was no exception. However, he still remembered Jun Haotian's advice, which was not to come into contact with those forces. But the more he did so, the more the forces kept attacking him. We can't let this kind of power continue to strengthen. Otherwise, we won't be able to resist it. Gu Yuehuang looked around. Those who had just become slightly sober, because of Bai Libing's death, had once again returned to that state of madness. Those people once again advanced forward, wanting to reach the peak. They seemed to have lost their minds. This was caused by those powerful forces. The power above the heavenly stage had destroyed their only rationality. Now it was also destroying Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia. This was not a land of fortune at all. It looked like a land of demons. You guys go down first. This heavenly stage to become a god is very strange. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's voice appeared in their minds, causing them to be shocked. Indeed, if this kind of power kept attacking them, even they would be lost. Jun Haoyan had also realized this, so he asked the two to stop climbing. What about you? Gu Yuehuang was a bit anxious. Jun Haoyan was in front of them. So from another perspective, the pressure and attack he was enduring was even greater than theirs. How many people could remain calm in the face of supreme fortune? Especially when there was a chance to become a god. Don't worry about me. I have my own plans. Jun Haoyan's voice sounded again. He had already started walking towards an even higher peak. Just as Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia had guessed, the pressure Jun Haoyan was currently enduring was much greater than theirs. However, he was still not afraid. That was because the heavenly stage targeted the primordial spirit and divine soul of cultivators. Ordinary cultivators did not focus on the cultivation of their primordial spirit and soul. Instead, they focused more on their physical body. However, Jun Haoyan was different. He possessed the supreme scripture, the past Amitabha Sutra. He was extremely outstanding in the cultivation of the soul and primordial spirit. So in this aspect, Jun Haoyan had sufficient resistance. This was why he dared to continue climbing at this moment. He wanted to know, what exactly was this heavenly palace? Was this the ultimate secret of Mount Tai? When Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia heard Jun Haoyan's words, they looked at each other. Although they were worried, they still chose to believe in Jun Haoyan's ability. This heaven stage seemed extremely dangerous. Although the heavenly palace seemed dangerous, Jun Haoyan had never been affected from the beginning to the end. Thinking of this, Gu Yuehuang sent another sound transmission. Then be careful. With that, she and Emperor Xia retreated and walked down the heavenly staircase to become a god. Just as they left the heavenly staircase, the two of them instantly relaxed and no longer had that terrifying influence. Moreover, everything that they had experienced on the heavenly staircase now seemed like a dream. Heavenly staircase. It seems that I'm not as good as Brother Haotian. Feeling all of this, Xia Zizi had a lingering fear in his heart. He first took a deep breath, then sighed at Jun Haoyan's strength. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had already ascended to first place. The level 100 heavenly staircase still looked so relaxed and calm. However, the two people who had personally experienced it knew very well how great the pressure was on the heavenly staircase. Especially Emperor Xia. He felt that in this aspect he was completely inferior to Jun Haoyan. And he was even more convinced. Holy Sun Haoyan and Wu Tian are about to encounter each other. At this moment, Gu Yuehuang looked at the heavenly staircase with a solemn expression on her face. Hearing this, Emperor Xia also raised his head at this moment. Because at this moment, Wu Tian's strength had reached a terrifying level. He didn't refuse the power bestowed by the heavenly staircase at all. He absorbed all of it, allowing his body to reach the immortal realm. Although these cultivations looked fake, the magic power and power within them were real. Wu Tian was even stronger than Bai Libing. Now that he had the cultivation of the immortal realm, he had already suppressed the older generation. At this moment, Jun Haoyan was encountering him. In their opinion, it was definitely extremely dangerous. At this moment, Wu Tian had already used the power revealed by the heavenly staircase to reach the immortal realm. Whether it was in terms of power or other aspects, he was much stronger than Bai Libing. He stood on the 120th step with a proud expression on his face. Looking down at Jun Haoyan, he narrowed his eyes. Wu Tian already knew what had just happened. Although he was affected by the power of the heavenly staircase, he still had his own consciousness. However, whether this state of mind was the same as usual was completely unknown. Holy Sun Haoyan, I didn't expect you to be able to reach this step. Wu Tian opened his mouth and looked at Jun Haoyan in front of him. Rays of light flashed on his body and circulated around him. He came from the boundless continent, and his magic true essence was extremely strong. His innate cultivation was much stronger than that of other continents. Although his physical body wasn't strong, his true essence was his most powerful part. Especially in the later stages of his cultivation, the strength of his true essence would be more apparent. To Wutian, although his cultivation was in the immortal realm, even if someone in the immortal realm descended, they wouldn't be his match. Not only was he a genius, but he had also received the favor of God. God had bestowed him with endless power. I'll give you a chance now. Submit in front of me or perish. He continued as if he didn't want to attack Jun Haoyan at all. This wasn't him being merciful, but he was completely disdainful. He, who had obtained the power of the heavenly staircase, thought that he was stronger than anyone else. In Wutian's eyes, there was only one person he had to surpass, and that was Qing Fengzi, who was in front of him. As for Jun Haoyan, the holy son of Haoyan who had killed Bai Libing and the others, he didn't care at all. He was completely disdainful. Therefore, he was too lazy to make a move. He only gave him two choices, death or submission. However, after Jun Haoyan heard this, he didn't care about this person at all. In his eyes, Wutian had been completely corroded by power, and had lost his original rationality. Wutian was disdainful of Jun Haoyan, and how could Jun Haoyan not be disdainful of him? If he couldn't even resist the temptation of power, how could he be his opponent? Just like that, he ignored Wutian, and continued to climb forward. You're courting death. You actually dare to ignore me, who is favored by God. When Wutian saw that Jun Haoyan was about to walk past him, his expression changed drastically, and several divine rings appeared around him. These divine rings were dazzling. Every time one of them appeared, it would bring with it layers of strange phenomena, such as wind, water, earth, thunder, and so on. These were all heaven-defying divine rings condensed from true essence. Any one of them had an unparalleled amount of power. At this moment, Wutian's 9 divine rings had all descended, revealing the might of heaven. Especially with the support of his true essence from the immortal realm, these 9 divine rings seemed to be unrivaled. The power that was revealed seemed to be able to crush everything. Even Gu Yuehuang, who was below the heaven realm, was shocked. Although Wutian's current cultivation was bestowed upon him, and not cultivated by himself, he was still extremely terrifying. However, he was still incomparably terrifying. Standing there, he was like a divine being. Favored by God. You're just a small fish. Get out of my way or I'll kill you. At this moment, Jiang Chun, who was standing in front of Wutian, finally spoke. His expression was cold as he looked forward with incomparable coldness. Although he ignored the person in front of him, it didn't mean that he would silently endure such provocation. When it's time to attack, when it's time to kill, he would still do it. No one could stop him. Ha ha ha, you want to kill me? What a joke. Wutian laughed wildly, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. But in the next moment, Wutian immediately took action. 9 divine rings descended, containing a vast amount of power. The power surged out like an ocean, spreading endlessly. It could even fill up an entire journey. These 9 divine rings, each of them represented a terrifying divine ability. They directly descended upon Jun Haoyan. Rumble. All kinds of wind, fire, water, earth, lightning, killing swords, and so on appeared. It was like a terrifying calamity descending from the void, continuously attacking Jun Haoyan. The entire sky was in chaos at this moment. All kinds of brilliant divine aura descended, as if the heavens and earth were being suppressed. At this moment, the first divine ring descended. It was filled with all kinds of wild winds that could blow mountains and rivers. Jun Haoyan didn't even raise his head. Facing the first divine ring, he only pointed out a finger. This finger descended, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. It gently clashed with Wutian's first divine ring. Boom! Asterisk kacha. Asterisk. In just a moment, Wutian's first divine ring shattered, shooting out all kinds of crazy lights. Wutian kept retreating. His mind was connected to the divine ring. When the divine ring shattered, he was severely injured. Die! Wutian seemed to have suffered a great humiliation as he kept roaring. In addition, the divine rings directly joined together, as if 8 vast suns were condensed, emitting brilliant divine might as they continuously shot out. The power formed by these divine halos transformed into a true sun that could crush everything. Jun Haoyan finally reacted at this moment. The layers of vast aura around him were constantly rioting. The golden figure in between his eyebrows also stood up at this moment and opened its eyes, like an emperor waking up. The battle's secret word appeared. Jun Haoyan raised his hands and evolved a terrifying divine ability. A painting of mountains and rivers appeared in his hands. It spread out and encompassed everything in the world. It seems to be the Langya mountain and river painting of Langya sacred ground. Guyua Huang had seen the great battle before and knew about the supreme weapon of Langya sacred ground. And now, it actually appeared in Jun Haoyan's hands. Using a supreme divine ability to activate his own power, communicate with the supreme weapon, and produce the life-killing Tai art? Such a powerful ability shocked even Emperor Xia and Guyua Huang. One had to know that such a method could only be used by those in the Immortal Realm 5. But Jun Haoyan could do it. Could it be that Jun Haoyan had broken through to the Immortal Realm 5? At this moment, Jun Haoyan didn't notice this at all. This was the battle's secret word, evolving the heavens. The life-killing art was terrifying beyond compare. The peerless painting of mountains and rivers in his hands kept expanding, as if forming a world that encompassed everything. He was like the ruler of a great world, ruling over this piece of land with boundless divine might. The exceptional picture scroll spread out once again. The scenery within it was incomparably real. It was as if Jun Haoyan had personally created a real world. Under this power, Wu Tian was finally unable to resist, and his entire body was trembling. At this moment, his eyes were filled with fear as he looked at Jun Haoyan. His face was extremely pale. Countless cracks slowly appeared on his body. It was as if Jun Haoyan could destroy him directly with just a little bit of strength. I don't believe it. I won't lose just like that. I'm someone favored by God. I'm a unique existence. Break. At this moment, Wu Tian had completely fallen into madness. The true essence and divine powers around him were constantly unleashed, surging into the 9 divine rings around him. He wanted to break through Jun Haoyan's suppression in one fell swoop. However, what made him despair was that no matter how much strength he exerted, he still couldn't shake Jun Haoyan's strength. He was like an ant trying to shake a tree. He seemed to be overestimating himself. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's eyes were cold and his face was expressionless. He was like a peerless king as he gently pressed down with his right hand. In the next moment, the entire world seemed to have collapsed. The exceptional picture scroll wrapped in endless divine light destroyed Wu Tian's 9 divine rings, just like that. Bang! 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 The divine rings continued to shatter, turning into nothingness and dissipating in this world. As Wu Tian's divine rings shattered, the aura on his body continued to weaken, and thick blood flowed out of his mouth. At this moment, Wu Tian still couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it. He had accepted the power of God. He clearly had invincible strength, but why couldn't he defeat the holy son of Hao Tian? Moreover, the other party defeated him so easily. Wu Tian still couldn't believe or understand all of this. However, he would probably never have the chance to find out the answer to this question. At this moment, the power in Jun Haoyan's hand increased again. It was like the final judgment of a supreme king. Boom! Finally, Wu Tian couldn't hold on any longer. His whole body trembled, and then his body shattered. He was completely crushed by the mountain and river picture scroll. Everything turned into nothingness. Whether it was his body, his primordial spirit, or his soul, they had all dissipated. The peerless genius of the boundless continent, Wu Tian, had completely fallen at this moment. Those warriors who still had some sense left were in a daze when they saw this scene. Is the holy son of Hao Tian so strong? Wu Tian is already an undying realm figure, but he couldn't even resist. It's really terrifying. The holy son of Hao Tian is still as strong as ever. Some people who saw this scene couldn't believe it at first, but in the end they accepted it. Wu Tian, who had obtained the heavenly fate. Just like that, he was directly destroyed by Jun Haoyan. Not even his bones were left behind. After seeing this scene, Guiyue Huang and Emperor Xia directly breathed a sigh of relief. At the same time, they were even more shocked by Jun Haoyan's strength. You two have known each other for a long time. How strong is Brother Haoyan? Emperor Xia asked. He originally thought that Jun Haoyan was just about the same as him, but later thought that Jun Haoyan was a little stronger than him. But now it was no longer a matter of being a little stronger. It was too much, enough to crush him. He wanted to understand Jun Haoyan's strength, so he could only ask Guiyue Huang. After all, the two of them had known each other for a long time. I'm not sure. It seems that he has never shown his true strength, nor has he fought to the death. At this point, Guiyue Huang seemed to have thought of something and spoke again. The holy son of Hao Tian, no matter what kind of opponent he is facing, he can crush them. As soon as these words came out, Emperor Xia was stunned. Although he had heard many legends about Jun Haoyan, and also knew of Jun Haoyan's heaven-defying battle record, now that he heard Ji Yunhuang's words, it seemed more terrifying than what he had heard. To be able to completely crush every single one of his opponents. What kind of strength was this? Even Emperor Xia didn't dare to imagine. Guiyue Huang wasn't exaggerating, because that was the truth. At this moment, after Jun Haoyan killed Wu Tian, the aura of his body began to converge. He only saw that the remaining flesh and blood essence of Wu Tian was gradually disappearing, fusing with the heavenly staircase to godhood. Without thinking too much, the most important thing now was to keep moving forward and reach the peak. Now Jun Haoyan had killed 3 heaven's prides. There was only one person who could stand in front of him. That was Qing Fengzi, one of the heaven's prides from other continents. The most powerful one. And now, Qing Fengzi had already reached the 365th step of the heavenly staircase. In the entire heavenly staircase to godhood, there were a total of 990 steps. And now, Jun Haoyan was only standing on the 100th step, but Qing Fengzi had already reached the 365th step. From the side, this Qing Fengzi was really very powerful, at least a level more terrifying than Wu Tian and the others. Although they were all at the peak of the Transcendence 10th level, there were still differences. For example, Jun Haoyan was the most powerful one. Like Wu Tian or Bai Libing, they were all much stronger than the others, and so was Qing Fengzi. But no matter what, from all aspects, Qing Fengzi was stronger than Jun Haoyan's opponents. At this moment, Jun Haoyan raised his head and looked in front, at Qing Fengzi, who had already stopped climbing. The latter obviously knew about the battle just now, but he did not turn back. But now, he also felt Jun Haoyan's gaze and slowly turned his head. Your strength has indeed exceeded my expectations. I did not expect you to be so strong. Qing Fengzi opened his mouth. At this moment, his state was different from the others, as if he still maintained his rationality. And now, he looked more and more unfathomable, powerful and terrifying. But not much of his true yuan leaked out. Even Jun Haoyan could not see how strong this person's cultivation was. Of course, all of this was because the heavenly staircase to godhood had a huge suppression on Jun Haoyan. Every step was like an ancient divine mountain pressing down on him. Jun Haoyan now had to repel the power of the heavenly staircase, but he also had to bear the pressure. And it was not easy. Especially now, Qing Fengzi seemed to be protected by the heavenly staircase, making him unable to see clearly. But Jun Haoyan was still clear of the other party's words. Without hesitation, he directly spoke to Qing Fengzi. I advise you not to continue climbing, otherwise it will be too terrifying. This was Jun Haoyan's warning. Although there was nothing strange about Qing Fengzi now, that strange aura made Jun Haoyan feel very uncomfortable. He knew that this was the influence of the heavenly palace and the heavenly staircase. Perhaps if he climbed up, Qing Fengzi would not be Qing Fengzi anymore. But after hearing Jun Haoyan's words, the latter's face revealed a smile. You want me to stop climbing? Ha ha ha, what a joke. This is the heavenly staircase to godhood. As long as you climb up, you will be able to obtain the inheritance of God and become a god. You want me to stop climbing? Isn't it also because you want to snatch my fortune? Qing Fengzi spoke, and rays of light appeared in his eyes, extremely dazzling. This kind of light was the same as the light emitted by the nine-colored altar. This kind of light looked incomparably sacred, able to illuminate all darkness, causing everyone to be bathed in it. But Jun Haoyan felt uncomfortable all over, and this kind of light made him feel very disgusted. Obviously, as he had guessed, although this Qing Fengzi looked normal in reality, he was more affected than anyone else. Shaking his head slightly, Jun Haoyan did not intend to continue persuading, because this was not what he wanted to do. As such, he looked down and said, "Don't worry. I will only say this, leave this heavenly staircase to godhood, otherwise, there will be great danger." His words were said to the cultivators of the martial god continent, as well as the earth cultivators of the other continents. It was not that Jun Haoyan was benevolent and wanted to save these people, but as he continued climbing, he felt more and more terrified of this heavenly staircase. It was like a living thing. It was very likely that these people would have a big problem, which would affect him, Mount Tai, and even the entire martial god continent. Therefore, this was not what Jun Haoyan wanted to see, which was why he said this. "Ihi, if you ask us not to climb, why don't you go down yourself? You obviously want to take the fortune for yourself, but you still say it so righteously. Ridiculous. We will not go down. As for you people of the martial god continent, it has nothing to do with us." At this moment, the people from the other continents spoke up, and sinister smiles appeared on their faces. In their opinion, Jun Haoyan wanted to seize the fortune for himself. What was this place? Heavenly staircase to godhood. As long as they were at the top, there would be endless benefits. Why would they withdraw? Especially at this moment. After hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Qing Fengzi felt as if he had heard a joke. Without any hesitation, he turned around and prepared to continue climbing. As for the people from the other continents, after mocking Jun Haoyan, they also walked up. As for the cultivators of the martial god continent, they all lowered their heads and did not look at Jun Haoyan. It was obvious that they also wanted to climb the heavenly staircase, even if they did not have any opportunities in the end. As long as they kept climbing, they would still be able to obtain great benefits. Jun Haoyan shook his head. This was his final warning. Since they did not want to stop, he would not force them. He had already said what he needed to say. As for the final result, it was all their own fault. "Holy son of Haoyan, we will listen to you." At this moment, a few people stood up, as if they had made a huge decision. Their eyes were filled with determination. "Although we don't know what danger you are talking about, we will withdraw." "That's right. Even if nothing happens in the end, we will have no regrets." After saying this, those people turned around and walked down the heavenly staircase. Every step required great determination, especially when they realized that the power of the heavenly staircase would follow them. But no matter what, since they had already decided, they would not choose to withdraw. As for the supreme kings, and those who chose to continue, they continued to climb and move upwards. Jun Haoyan glanced at them, and did not say anything. This was human nature. Some people could be resolute, but some people could not refuse that kind of temptation. Then, he took a deep breath, and stabilized all the power in his body in the furnace formed by his dantian. The golden primordial spirit sat cross-legged under the wonderful Bodhi tree, and chanted the past Amitabha Sutra. This was a supreme soul-refining technique that could stabilize the mind and maintain the physical body. There would definitely be greater challenges above the heavenly staircase. He had to be prepared. Jun Haoyan had a premonition that after reaching the peak this time, he would come into contact with a terrifying secret. And he too wanted to know everything. Chapter 235. At this moment, an extremely vast power erupted from Jun Haoyan's body. Around him, wisps of golden blood qi continuously surged out. At this moment, endless majesty emerged from his body. Jun Haoyan's incomparably strong physical body seemed to be eternal and indestructible as it stood in this world. At this moment, no one could ignore Jun Haoyan's existence. In the next moment, under everyone's gaze, Jun Haoyan took a step and slowly walked up the heaven staircase. Jun Haoyan, seemed to have stepped onto the heaven staircase to become a god. His expression was indifferent, and his gaze was firm, showing the demeanor of a peerless genius. After stepping onto the heaven staircase, Jun Haoyan did not absorb a trace of the heaven staircase's power. The most terrifying thing about the heaven staircase was that as long as a martial artist fused with a trace of its power, they would be controlled by this power and lose their own thoughts. From then on, they would become a slave to this power, unable to control themselves. If one did not take the initiative to reject the heaven staircase's power at the beginning, then this power would continue to affect them, just like by Li Bing and Wu Tian, who had died in Jun Haoyan's hands. Although the two of them looked powerful, they could not withstand a single blow from Jun Haoyan. After absorbing the heaven staircase's power, their minds were already unclear. After being killed by Jun Haoyan, all their essence was absorbed by the heaven staircase. Even if they did not die in Jun Haoyan's hands, they would be controlled by this power for the rest of their lives. Jun Haoyan had this premonition when he had just stepped onto the heaven staircase. When the power hit him, a voice sounded in his mind. As long as he fused with this power, he could immediately break through to the immortal 10,000 life realm. This power would allow him to break through to the immortal 10,000 life realm without any danger. Feeling the heaven staircase's power that was still surrounding him, Jun Haoyan's face revealed a relaxed smile. He did not intend to fuse with the heaven staircase's power from the beginning. He was very clear in his heart that this power did not belong to him at all. If the heaven rank was compared to a life form with immense power, then the person who ascended the heaven rank would be affected by that power. Previously, he just wanted to know what heaven rank looked like, but now it was completely different. At this time, Jun Haoyan was truly choosing to ascend the heaven staircase. His entire body had an indescribable charm, and every time Jun Haoyan climbed a flight of stairs, the power around his body would rumble, and the heaven rank would display formidable power. These forces were constantly invading his body, trying to fuse with him. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had a feeling and an idea, but he wasn't sure. After he killed by Li Bing and Wu Tian, Jun Haoyan guessed that his thoughts shouldn't be wrong based on the heaven rank's reaction. That 999 heaven rank powerhouse was most likely a huge life form. Or perhaps, this was a puppet being controlled by someone. Of course, if he wanted to truly understand everything, he had to reach the peak of the heaven rank, the peak of Mount Tai, and see what this 9-colored altar was. With that in mind, Jun Haoyan's speed became faster and faster. The increasingly powerful pressure of the heaven rank, as well as the temptation of power, was nothing to Jun Haoyan. At this moment, it seemed that nothing could shake Jun Haoyan's mind. It was also because of this that Jun Haoyan felt more and more pressure, and the power of the heaven rank kept surging, almost surpassing Qing Fengzi's. This scene had already been noticed by Qing Fengzi. His eyes were filled with jealousy, and it quickly turned into resentment. Because he was the first person to ascend this place, and also the first person to feel the power of the heaven rank. In Qing Fengzi's words, he was someone favored by God. But now the power Jun Haoyan received was even greater than his. Didn't that mean that he had been abandoned by God? No, this is absolutely impossible. Qing Fengzi's face was filled with hatred. He looked at the approaching Jun Haoyan and made up his mind to kill him. He wanted to ruthlessly suppress Jun Haoyan in his strongest state under the gaze of God. Just like this, he sat on the 365th level and enjoyed the gift of the heaven rank. As time passed, the power he obtained became stronger and stronger, terrifying beyond compare. At this moment, Jun Haoyan ascended to the 220th level of the heaven rank. His body seemed to be suppressed by more than 200 terrifying ancient god mountains. If not for the ancient Yuan giant elephant carrying the world and stepping on the river of stars, it would have been difficult for him to move forward. It was also under this kind of situation that Qing Fengzi absorbed the terrifying power around him without any scruples, fusing it into his body. At the same time, his aura became more and more powerful, and the immortal aura around him continuously shot out. It was even more powerful than by Li Bing and Wu Tian, and it looked even more terrifying. In order to kill Jun Haoyan, he had to frantically increase his strength. It wasn't that he didn't have much confidence in himself, but Qing Fengzi understood that if he wanted to truly obtain the recognition of the heaven rank, such terrifying power, if it was an ordinary person, they wouldn't be able to withstand it. Moreover, Jun Haoyan hadn't fused with the power of the heaven rank, so it would only be worse, and he would be rejected by the heaven rank. He was also standing on the 200th step, but the pressure he had to endure was several times that of the others. Even so, Jun Haoyan was still fearless and walked forward step by step. Even with the suppression of thousands of divine mountains, even with the temptation of various powers, he walked forward alone, shouldering everything. Boom! With another step, Jun Haoyan once again crossed more than 10 steps and walked forward. Just like this, every step he took was like a crowd entering a mountain, causing the entire heaven rank to tremble slightly. Jun Haoyan was already standing at the peak of the primordial spirit Dharma phase, and he was only one step away from the immortal realm. It looked like a small step, but the gap was very large. Crossing it would be a different scene. Unlike the others who had received the gift of the heaven rank, Jun Haoyan didn't receive any external power at all. Therefore, he had to cross this step himself. Jun Haoyan did the same. While resisting the pressure, Jun Haoyan was also condensing his physical body and primordial spirit. Although it seemed very difficult to walk up this heaven rank to become a god, from another perspective, it was also a test for him. Perhaps this time, it was his fortune. Just like this, Jun Haoyan walked forward step by step, crossing more than 10 steps with each step. However, not long after, he felt a terrifying aura in front of him. It was a powerful force that had already surpassed the immortal realm, reaching the same cultivation level as the Eastern Wilderness Great Sacred Leaders. Immortal Realm Creator Realm. Although Jun Haoyan had killed a terrifying existence of the immortal realm before, he had relied on the supreme weapon and the Sarira of the small thunderclap temple. Now, he was using his own strength, and his cultivation level was at the peak of the primordial spirit Dharma phase. When he felt this terrifying aura, even Jun Haoyan felt some pressure. At this moment, the person standing in front of Jun Haoyan was actually Qing Fengzi, who relied on the power of the heaven rank. This person had already broken through to the immortal creator realm. In such a short time, this speed was extremely terrifying, not to mention in the Wushan continent, even in the 3,000 continents. Most importantly, he was in existence with an extremely strong foundation and talent like Qing Fengzi. Originally, it was very difficult for such a person to advance. Now, in less than 2 days, not only did he break through to the immortal realm, but he also reached the immortal creator realm. When the people below who were still climbing the heaven rank saw this scene, their faces were filled with excitement. They thought that if they continued climbing, they would definitely be able to reach this level. Perhaps they would become even stronger. In the future, when they walked out of Mount Tai, the ordinary people among them would become the strongest in the entire world. Becoming a truly terrifying figure was something they had always dreamt of. Under the temptation of cultivation, they worked even harder to climb, and their speed was faster than before. However, when Jun Haoyan saw this scene, he watched coldly from the side. His expression did not change, and he did not even have the slightest bit of surprise. Holy son of Haoyan, I didn't expect you to actually walk in front of me. This is good too. I don't have to waste too much effort to kill you. You are courting death by snatching the fortune of the heaven rank with me. No one can stop me from reaching the peak. Qing Fengzi's figure stood on the 365th step, looking down at Jun Haoyan. He already had the cultivation of the immortal creator realm, and soon, he would be able to break through to the immortal world king realm. And then he would be able to advance to the immortal realm. After that, he would be able to reach the emperor realm in one fell swoop. This was what he hoped for, and there was no problem at all. But now, the first thing he had to do was to kill Jun Haoyan. Kill this person who would threaten him. You have been controlled by power, but it doesn't matter, I will end you. Jun Haoyan looked at the person in front of him, whose body was surging with immortal light, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. He was not afraid at all because the other party had reached the immortal creator realm, and he directly took a step forward. This holy son of Haotian is crazy. He wants to fight with Qing Fengzi, who has reached the immortal creator realm? He is overestimating himself. I dare say that he is no match for him at all, and will die miserably. Qing Fengzi's talent is strong, his divine abilities are invincible, and he has the support of the immortal creator realm cultivation. How can he win? Not necessarily. This holy son of Haotian is very strong. Maybe even if he loses, he won't die. Someone spoke at this time, especially those who came from other continents, concluded that Jun Haotian was overestimating himself. Some also thought that Jun Haotian would have his own trump card, but without exception, no one admitted that he would win. These people had been deeply affected by the heaven rank. Although they had recovered some of their consciousness, they were not like before. Guyue Huang and Emperor Xia, who had been standing below, looked nervous, but they were not too worried, because the two of them believed that Jun Haotian would not do something that he was not confident of. Since Jun Haotian planned to directly attack, he must have his own confidence. And under such circumstances, they could only wait and see. Boom! At this time, Qing Fengzi attacked first. He covered the sky with one hand, and was extremely powerful. A blue sky appeared behind him, enveloping everything around him. He was like the representative of the blue sky, exuding a brilliant and terrifying aura. In the next moment, a huge sun appeared in this blue sky. It was incomparably cold, shining on the heaven palace. A blue sky and a great sun. Two strange phenomena appeared. Qing Fengzi was like his name. Just as he attacked, he displayed an unparalleled power. That blue sky directly descended on Jun Haotian. It had the aura of heaven and earth suppressing it. At this time, Jun Haotian stood indomitable, golden qi and blood circling around his body. Violent rumbling sounds were heard. He faced the blue sky directly and formed a fist seal. It was terrifying and invincible. It could kill everything. He did not use the attack of the battle secret art, but used his own strength to break this void. Boom, boom, boom. Jun Haotian continued to unleash attacks. Each of his punches was capable of shattering a mountain range and turning a mulberry field into a vast ocean, bombarding this world. It's useless under this blue sky. I am the ruler. Qing Fengzi looked at Jun Haotian, who was attacking him, and sneered. He enjoyed this feeling, as if he could control the life and death of a person at will. Is that so? Jun Haotian smiled. He was not affected at all, and the power in his hands increased. Layers of protection surrounded his body. The golden figure under the seven treasures Bodhi tree also appeared, temporarily merging with his body, merging the primordial spirit and the body. This was something that only longevity realm experts could do. And now Jun Haotian had done it, which surprised everyone. This also meant that Jun Haotian had the foundation to break through to the immortal realm. Boom! At this moment, Jun Haotian seemed to have turned into a god of war. All kinds of skills exploded in his hands. He was no longer limited to one skill, one emperor art, and could merge all of them into one. Under such terrifying means, he looked incomparably powerful. Each of Jun Haotian's moves contained a terrifying might, as if they were about to break through the heavens and earth. Finally, Qing Fengzi's expression changed. The power in Jun Haotian's hands became stronger and stronger. It made the blue sky that he had built start to collapse. Even the sun in the sky was shaking, as if it was going to be extinguished at any time. Impossible! Qing Fengzi shouted loudly. He channeled his immortal creator realm cultivation base and entered the blue sky. However, to his astonishment, he discovered that his methods were actually useless. Jun Haotian became stronger as he fought, and his methods were endless. The Cauldron of 100 Scriptures finally played a great role, allowing him to use all kinds of skills smoothly. It was also under these circumstances that cracks appeared in the blue sky above his head, and it was on the verge of collapse. Break for me. Jun Haotian frowned coldly. At the limit, he once again took a peerless blow. Boom! Boom! The void exploded, the sun fell, and the blue sky cracked. Qing Fengzi's body trembled, his face was pale, and he couldn't stop it. He seemed to be about to fail. Chapter 236. Impossible, I'm the one chosen by God. You can't defeat me. At this moment, Qing Fengzi roared at Jun Haotian. Then, a vast aura appeared on his body, and rays of divine light shot out. A powerful aura spread between heaven and earth. He wanted to maintain the blue sky in his hand and suppress Jun Haotian. But now it seemed that everything was too late. Jun Haotian did not show mercy at all. Once again he attacked with his strongest attack. It shook the entire world, as if it was going to be destroyed. The majestic divine aura shook the world, as if it was going to destroy the world. Then endless divine light descended from the sky. At this moment, the blue sky shattered, and the sun set. As for Qing Fengzi, he fell on the stairs. His entire body was dispirited, and his aura was empty. He looked extremely weak. Impossible, impossible. At this moment, Qing Fengzi muttered to himself. He was still in disbelief. He had entered the immortal creator realm. Even in the 3,000 worlds, he was considered a peerless expert. But why was he not a match for Jun Haotian, who was only in the transcendence realm? Qing Fengzi could not accept such an outcome. Even if the holy son of Haotian had unparalleled talent and countless divine abilities, his cultivation was far from his. How could the holy son of Haotian do this? Thinking of this, Qing Fengzi raised his head with difficulty and looked at Wu Tian. Why? Holy son of Haotian, tell me why. Qing Fengzi's eyes were filled with disbelief. At this moment, he could not swallow the last breath in his heart, because he was indignant. He did not believe that he did not want to die like this, unless he got the answer he wanted. In other words, this was the obsession in his heart. At this moment, Jun Haotian was standing in front of him, looking down at him with the same condescending gaze. The positions of both sides had been completely reversed. Jun Haotian looked at Qing Fengzi in front of him. His expression didn't change at all, and his aura was completely restrained. I've already said that this power doesn't belong to you. Unfortunately, you didn't believe me. That's right. If you're really an undying creator, I definitely won't be your opponent. Unfortunately, you're not. I believe that you should be able to feel how strong you are now. As soon as he said this, Qing Fengzi's expression changed. He hurriedly circulated the last of his strength to check his body. It was just as the holy son of Haotian had said. Qing Fengzi had an undying creator fleshly body, but he was far from reaching this level. It was like a person who had obtained a power beyond their control. Even if they could control it, did that mean that the power belonged to them? That's not true. Power is bestowed upon you by others, and can be taken back at any time. At this moment, Qing Fengzi felt that he was still at the soul Dharma realm. From the very beginning, he had not improved at all. This heaven's staircase of immortality had been confusing him all along. Pfft. After knowing the truth, Qing Fengzi could not accept it at all. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood in disbelief. At this moment, he finally regained his senses. Unfortunately, this was exchanged with his life. There was no chance for him to regret it at all. Just like that, the pride of a generation, Qing Fengzi died. Countless people saw this scene and found it hard to believe. They did not hear the conversation between Jun Haotian and Qing Fengzi just now. In fact, even if they had heard it, it would not have mattered. Because at this moment, they were completely controlled by the power of the heaven staircase. Unless they died, they would not be able to break free from the control of this power. Therefore, Jun Haotian did not say anything, because there was no meaning in it. At this moment, Jun Haotian advanced once again after killing Qing Fengzi. His primordial spirit separated from his fleshly body once again. After all, he had not broken through to the undying realm. His primordial spirit and fleshly body were still separated. However, this did not affect anything, because Jun Haotian had already taken that step under the pressure of the heaven staircase. Next, if he wanted to break through, it was just a matter of a thought from him. However, Jun Haotian did not have this intention in the heaven staircase, because he still felt an extremely dangerous aura. It was revealed from the 9-colored altar. After he killed Qing Fengzi, he felt it. Without stopping his movements, Jun Haotian continued to move forward. He crossed the distance of more than 10 heaven staircases with a single step. In just an instant, Jun Haotian had reached the 500th heaven staircase. However, as Jun Haotian continued to climb, the power became stronger and stronger. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had to circulate his strongest power to offset it. Otherwise, even he could feel the incomparably heavy and terrifying pressure. Especially when he reached the 500th heaven staircase, the power that emerged and wanted to fuse with him became even more majestic. The current Jun Haoyan even had a feeling that as long as he combined these powers, he would be able to directly cross the 5 immortal realms. He would directly become an Emperor Realm powerhouse and dominate the world. This kind of enlightenment was extremely tempting for anyone. However, Jun Haoyan's Yuan spirit was still sitting cross-legged under the 7 treasures Bodhi tree. Although it was affected, it still didn't move and sat there quietly. As for Jun Haoyan, he also walked forward step by step. In the blink of an eye, he reached the 100th heaven staircase. At this moment, endless power surged around him. More than 800 ancient divine mountains suppressed his body, as if they wanted to tear his body apart. This power had already exceeded Jun Haoyan's imagination. It seemed that as long as he fused it with his cultivation, he would surpass the Emperor realm. Is the enlightenment getting stronger and stronger? Jun Haoyan, who was affected by all this, smiled. He didn't care at all. Even if his endurance was about to reach its limit, even if the power was constantly tempting him, Jun Haoyan's heart was still extremely firm. His body was already upright. He couldn't cross more than 10 heaven staircases in one step, so he could only walk up step by step. With every step he took, the pressure he endured increased by more than 10 times. The cultivators who saw this scene below felt their bodies turn cold. They roared crazily, because there was a voice telling them, as long as Jun Haoyan reached the top, he would destroy all their fortunes. At this moment, those who were climbing had a great hatred for Jun Haoyan. Unfortunately, the gap between them and Jun Haoyan was too big. It was almost impossible to make up for it. Not to mention the harm they would cause to Jun Haoyan. Just like that, as time passed, Jun Haoyan finally stepped on the 990th step. There were only 9 heaven staircases left before he could reach the peak. It was also at this moment that thousands of divine lights gathered in front of Jun Haoyan. These divine lights continued to stay, and a king wearing an emperor's robe appeared, sitting on the emperor's throne. Vast immortal light circulated. It pervaded this world, looking peerless and dazzling. Behind this boundless divine light was an emperor's throne in the void. It was carved with dragons and phoenixes, looking simple and ancient. It was like the supreme throne of the human race in ancient times. Only the most powerful and peerless person could sit on it. After the emperor's throne appeared, the entire world seemed to have submitted, and all living beings prostrated themselves in worship. Even Jun Haoyan felt this powerful aura. It was as if it could directly suppress his soul and make him kneel down. Jun Haoyan slightly narrowed his eyes and looked at the emperor's throne in front of him. Golden blood continued to revolve around his body. He was sure that he hadn't reached the peak of the heaven staircase. He had stopped at the 990th step. If the peak of the heaven staircase was included, then there were still 10 heaven staircases in front of Jun Haoyan. Jun Haoyan was very clear about this, but he didn't understand why this would happen when he stood there. This was especially true for the monarch on the emperor's throne, who was becoming more and more real. The monarch quietly sat on the emperor's throne, overlooking everything in the world, and watching the changes that had occurred over thousands of years. His pitch-black eyes seemed to be able to see through everything in this world, and he was also looking at Jun Haoyan. The monarch became more and more real with the emergence of the divine light. In the end, he seemed to have turned into a real living person. Jun Haoyan could even feel the monarch's unceasingly beating heart. Layer upon layer, it was as if it could destroy everything. You're not bad to be able to reach this step. At this moment, the monarch opened his mouth, and his voice was full of praise. His voice was like an unparalleled existence that could make the world submit to him. It made people want to kneel down and worship him. These words directly landed in Jun Haoyan's mind, as if they were the voice of an ancient monarch. At this moment, even Jun Haoyan had the urge to kneel down and kowtow to him. However, he didn't do so. Instead, he looked at the monarch in the emperor's robe in front of him calmly. Even though the power Jun Haoyan was enduring at this moment was like the suppression of heaven and earth, he showed signs of completely submitting. Jun Haoyan's body was tall and straight. No matter what kind of existence it was, it couldn't make him kneel down. I like such perseverance. The monarch on the emperor's throne seemed to have felt Jun Haoyan's perseverance, and a trace of admiration appeared on his face again. However, the admiration on his face soon disappeared. It directly transformed into an unparalleled majesty, a majesty that was even more terrifying than the wrath of a god. This was a true supreme being that could suppress everything and sweep through 3,000 realms. The monarch on the emperor's throne stood up just like that. He was incomparably tall, as if he had pierced through the sky. However, I am the ancestor of the human race. You should kneel to me. He spoke again, claiming that he was the ancestor of the human race, and wanted Jun Haoyan to kneel to him. That tone sounded extremely majestic, as if it could be transmitted to all 3,000 continents in the world. The person in front of him was actually the ancestor of the human race. Jun Haoyan was enduring more and more pressure at this moment. He looked at the monarch in the emperor's robe in front of him, his expression still unchanged. No one knew that Jun Haoyan was enduring a terrifying pressure at this moment. Even his body was constantly trembling. One had to know that he cultivated the indestructible celestial body. In terms of physical strength, not only did he surpass his peers, but even immortal powerhouses might not be as strong as him. However, that monarch just relied on his power to make him tremble. However, even in the face of such pressure, Jun Haoyan's body was still ramrod straight. He slowly opened his mouth. Ancestor? There are many ancestors of the human race. May I know which one you are? This sentence seemed to have exhausted all of Jun Haoyan's strength to say. His forehead was covered in sweat, showing the pressure he was enduring. Even speaking was so difficult, let alone standing in front of the monarch in front of him. When the monarch heard Jun Haoyan's words, a smile appeared on his face again. I am Xianyuan, the ancestor of the human race. Jun Haoyan's face was filled with astonishment when he heard this. Xianyuan? After Xianyuan Supreme's ruins, Jun Haoyan had investigated Xianyuan Supreme's information. He did not expect Xianyuan Supreme to be the ancestor of the ancient human race, the descendant of Great Emperor Xianyuan. And Great Emperor Xianyuan, the famous ancestor of the human race, actually appeared in this place? He appeared in Mount Tai. In the legends of the martial god continent, Xianyuan was not only the ancestor of the martial god continent, but also the ancestor of the entire 3,000 continents. In the legends, he was also one of the first people to enter the god realm. Most importantly, it was said that Xianyuan, the ancestor of the human race, led the god realm in the war between the god realm and the demon race. Most importantly, the ancestor of the human race, Xianyuan, was said to be a supreme expert even in the god realm. He was truly the strongest existence. Unfortunately, this ancestor of the human race, who was extremely revered in the hearts of the human race, mysteriously disappeared after the war between the god realm and hell. He was also the only god in the records of the human race that had fallen. Looking at the figure of the peerless monarch in front of him, Jun Haoyan was very confused. Why would this ancestor of the human race, who had disappeared for countless years, suddenly appear in Mount Tai? The ancestor Xianyuan before him was so real. Could it really be the ancestor of the human race, Xianyuan? At this moment, sensing the aura of the monarch in front of him, even Jun Haoyan was a little puzzled. Ordinary people could not emit such a terrifying aura. The figure of the monarch in front of him seemed to be the ancestor of the human race, Xianyuan. Most importantly, the monarch in front of him looked exactly the same as the ancestor of the human race, Xianyuan, who was worshipped by the mortals in the mortal world. How dare you? It's your great honor to see the ancestor of the human race. Hurry up and kneel. At this moment, the monarch in the imperial robe spoke again. There was anger in his eyes. The ancestor of the human race was angry. Who could bear it completely? Even if a true god descended, he would have to kneel in front of the ancestor of the human race, Xianyuan. At this moment, Jun Haoyan's mind was constantly buzzing after hearing the monarch's words. It was as if thousands of thunderbolts were exploding in his mind, trying to erase his mind. Cold sweat flowed down his body. His body was trembling, and all the magic power in his body was about to dissipate. The person in front of him was indeed unimaginably powerful. Feeling this, Jun Haoyan's primordial spirit felt like it was about to collapse. However, at this moment, the Amitabha Sutra of the past rumbled and stabilized everything. At this moment, light appeared in his eyes. He faced the monarch in front of him and spoke again. You are not the ancestor of the human race. Chapter 237. You're not the human ancestor at all. At that moment, Jun Haoyan slowly raised his head. His eyes were filled with determination as he looked at the figure of the peerless emperor in front of him. His aura also surged. Facing the man in the imperial robe in front of him, Jun Haoyan did not show a trace of fear, nor did he have any intention of kneeling before him. He stared straight at the man in front of him as he slowly uttered such shocking words. Jun Haoyan directly denied that this man was the human ancestor, Xian Yuan. Insolent junior. I am the ancestor of the human race. The entire human race is my descendant. You dare to defy me, which means you are disrespecting your ancestors. This is treason, and has been abandoned by the great Tao. Seeing that Jun Haoyan was so disrespectful to him, the man in the imperial robe spoke directly. He directly berated Jun Haoyan. At the same time, an extremely vast aura swept across heaven and earth, as if it was going to shatter the stars in the void. If it were anyone else present, they would not be able to withstand such a terrifying aura. However, in the face of such a monstrous aura and endless oppression, Jun Haoyan's expression did not change at all. His body was still straight. What's going on? Why is Brother Haoyan standing there and not moving? Could it be that something is obstructing him? At this moment, below the heaven staircase, Emperor Xia and Guyuahuang looked at each other in confusion when they saw this scene. In their eyes, ever since Jun Haoyan stepped onto the 990th step, he had been standing in the same place. There was no sign of him moving forward. At that moment, they could not see what Jun Haoyan was facing. In their eyes, there was no such thing as a shadow. They could not understand why Jun Haoyan would suddenly stop moving forward. Seeing this, the warriors below who were struggling to climb the heaven staircase were suddenly shocked. As if they had seen some kind of hope, they all increased their efforts to climb. At that moment, standing at the highest point of the heaven staircase was Jun Haoyan. He was on the 990th step of the heaven staircase. However, seeing that Jun Haoyan had been standing there motionless for a long time, they were certain that if Jun Haoyan continued to stand there, they would be able to catch up to him sooner or later and reach the peak. At this moment, nobody knew what Jun Haoyan was going through, nor did they know what was happening on the 990th step. However, the vast majestic aura that permeated the void continued to sweep towards them, causing some of them to tremble in fear. At this moment, Jun Haoyan, who was standing at the 990 level of the heaven staircase, stared at the man in imperial robes in front of him and chuckled softly. The real human ancestor would never have such a domineering attitude towards the human race. According to legend, the human ancestor, Xian Yuan, was open-minded and tolerant of all things. He was especially tolerant of the human race. Forcing humans to kneel and submit is definitely not something the human ancestor Xian Yuan society would do. Jun Haoyan was very calm as he said this directly. According to legend, the human ancestor, Xian Yuan society, had done his best for the human race. He had killed his way out of the 5 races for the sake of the human race. He was a true unparalleled hero. How could he be like the person in front of him? Therefore, Jun Haoyan was certain that the person in front of him was not the human ancestor, Xian Yuan society. Sure enough, the monarch in imperial robes had a change in expression when he heard Jun Haoyan's words. He had never expected that this person, who had appeared after the unknown young man, would be so intelligent. Before he could speak, Jun Haoyan's gaze was as sharp as a knife, and his expression was resolute. If I'm not wrong, you're just the human ancestor, Xian Yuan society. You're a loser who is pretending to be mysterious here. Jun Haoyan's aura was getting stronger and stronger. The man in imperial robes in front of him could not suppress him for a while. This was because Jun Haoyan had already seen through all illusions. He knew that he was still on the 990th step and had yet to reach the peak. Under these circumstances, everything that he had encountered was due to the influence of the heaven rank. Therefore, there was no longer any fear in his heart. On the contrary, he understood many things. At this moment, the blood in Jun Haoyan's body erupted again. He faced the man in imperial robes in front of him and took another step forward. Boom! In an instant, the heaven and earth shook. The entire heaven rank emitted an earth-shattering aura. Boom, boom, boom. Several consecutive sounds came out and crushed everything. The emperor's throne in front of Jun Haoyan and the monarch in imperial robes had all disappeared. Only a black shadow was left. It was like a shadow that did not exist in this world. It emitted a terrifying aura of earth enlightenment and evil energy. It was completely different from the divine light that was just displayed. However, Jun Haoyan was the only one who could see this black shadow. If it wasn't for the battle with Xian Yuan, how could I have ended up like this? Countless years have passed. Hell will definitely appear. Hell will definitely replace the God realm and control the life and death of all living things. That black shadow shouted, as if it had revealed a terrifying secret. Jun Haoyan narrowed his eyes slightly. The black shadow in front of him seemed to be unable to do anything to him. However, in reality, it was a figure from the same era as Xian Yuan of the human race. Moreover, it was a super expert from hell. However, Jun Haoyan did not know who it was at all. God knows how long had passed in the era of Xian Yuan of the human race. It was rumored that the 3,000 worlds were still a whole at that time. In the era of Xian Yuan of the human race, there was only a vast and boundless world. It was only divided into 3,000 regions. When the 3,000 worlds were connected, it was not as fragmented as it was now. However, no one knew what happened. Perhaps it was because of the Great War, or because of the Great Calamity. The 3,000 regions collapsed and turned into the 3,000 worlds of the present. Whether it was Xian Yuan or the black shadow in front of him, they were both peak figures of that era. At this moment, Jun Haoyan finally understood something. The Mount Tai in front of him did not belong to the martial god continent. Instead, it belonged to all the 3,000 worlds of the past. However, due to unpredictable reasons, it had become like this. Thinking of this, Jun Haoyan prepared to ask the black shadow something. However, when he looked over again, the black shadow had already disappeared. In front of Jun Haoyan, there were only the 9 heaven steps and the highest peak left. At this moment, the 9-colored altar was also emitting an increasingly powerful aura. The divine light that filled the air was also becoming denser. And all of this originated from the vast heavenly palace and the altar. These two mysterious items both contain great secrets, waiting for Jun Haoyan to explore them. Jun Haoyan took a deep breath. The aura in his body once again returned to its peak, completely breaking free from the influence of the heaven steps. Then, without any hesitation, Jun Haoyan continued forward and stepped onto the next step of the heaven steps. Boom! At this moment, the power he was enduring increased once again. Every inch of his body seemed to be suppressed by a world. However, even so, it still could not stop Jun Haoyan's footsteps. This was the last 10 steps. Every step he took was like facing a world. Boundless might circulated around Jun Haoyan's body, as boundless divine light revolved around him. As he continued to move forward, the influence of the heaven steps on him seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. However, Jun Haoyan did not let his guard down. Now, it seemed that the black shadow had disappeared. It seemed that there was no power that could affect him anymore. Moreover, the power of the heaven steps that wanted to fuse with him was getting fewer and fewer. Everything was developing in a good direction. However, the closer he was to the peak, the more careful he had to be. Jun Haoyan knew in his heart that there would definitely be more dangers on the heaven steps. Finally, under the watchful eyes of countless people, Jun Haoyan stood on the 998th level of the heaven steps. And in front of him was the last level of the heaven steps. As long as he stood at that position, it meant that he had already walked through the heaven steps. If he went up, he would step into the area of the heavenly palace. Moreover, the nine-colored altar was in the square of the heavenly palace, emitting rays of divine light. Is the Holy Son of Haotian really going to reach the peak? I don't know. However, looking at the situation, the final winner of the heaven steps of immortality is very likely to be the person in front of us. If he obtains the immortal fate, then in this world, who can suppress him? The eyes of those who were still climbing the heaven steps were filled with despair. They could only watch as Jun Haotian reached the peak just like that. And no matter how hard they tried, they could not get close. Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang's hearts began to pound at this moment. Their faces were filled with worry and anticipation. On the one hand, they wanted to know what kind of fortune Jun Haotian would obtain at the peak. On the other hand, they were worried that a great crisis would appear. Previously, Jun Haotian had already warned them that there was too much problem with the heaven steps. As things developed, they also confirmed Jun Haotian's words. In this regard, no one would relax at this moment. After all, he was the first person to reach the peak. It was also at this moment that Jun Haotian finally walked up. The brilliance around his body continued to burst forth with layers of vast power. It was incomparably pure, melodious, and carried a sacred aura that permeated around his body. At this moment, the power emitted by the heaven steps was completely different from before. There was no longer that seductive aura, and it was incomparably solid. In Jun Haotian's eyes, there was nothing strange about it. He could directly refine it. It fused into his body. This power was Beichong Pang Tai. As long as Jun Haotian directly refined it, he would be able to break through the immortal realm. He could break through to the immortal longevity realm in an instant, but Jun Haotian didn't do so. Even if he knew that there was nothing wrong with this power, he would not let himself become a slave to it. However, in this place, Jun Haotian knew that he absolutely could not relax. The more critical the moment, the more important it was. At this moment, he had completely reached the peak. When he turned his head to look down again, everyone had been left far behind. No matter how hard they climbed, they were still far away from him. It was like the path of cultivation. When an expert's cultivation reached a certain realm, when he looked back again, he would be surprised to find that his competitors had completely collapsed. In the end, the path of cultivation would reach the top and look down on all mountains. At this moment, Jun Haotian also had this feeling. In this state, the barrier between him and the immortal realm had completely disappeared. Wisps of immortal realm aura appeared on his body, constantly nourishing his physical body. The primordial spirit that was sitting cross-legged under the seven treasures virtuous tree also began to come into contact with his physical body. There was no sign of rejection at all. As long as Jun Haotian was willing, he could combine his physical body and primordial spirit at any time and break through to the immortal realm in one fell swoop. Of course, this also required a process. Although there was no danger during this period, it could not be done casually. It required a lot of preparation. Therefore, Jun Haotian did not do so at this time. Instead, he continued to look at the peak. That was where the heavenly official was. After passing through the square, he seemed to be able to enter the heavenly palace. However, Jun Haotian made up his mind to find out what the nine-colored altar in the square was. Thinking of this, Jun Haotian took a deep breath again and restrained the aura around him to protect himself. At this moment, Jun Haotian's defense was so strong that even an expert at the peak of the immortal realm could not break it. It was also at this moment that, under the gaze of countless people, Jun Haotian finally reached the peak of the immortal ascension stairway. At the same time, he stepped into the heavenly palace that was like the immortal realm. In an instant, endless divine light spread out continuously, as if it had soaked the entire world. Jun Haotian bathed in this light, and every inch of his skin seemed to have undergone a metamorphosis, radiating boundless light. The immortal chi here was incomparably rich and endless, as if the door to the immortal realm had really been opened. At this moment, Jun Haotian stood in the middle of the square. Not far from him was a nine-colored altar with a diameter of 9 meters, quietly standing in the middle of the square. unchanging since time immemorial. Behind the nine-colored altar was an extremely vast palace that seemed to connect the distance between heaven and earth. It was vast and boundless, and every stone seemed to be immeasurable. Every stone seemed to have been refined from a single star. Just like that, it sat in the void, making it impossible to look directly at. The size of the palace was simply unimaginable. Only when one reached the peak could they see it clearly. The scene below was not even a 10,000th of the heavenly palace itself. The palace inside. It seemed so flat that even the stars could be stored inside. However, Jun Haoyan was not paying attention to this. Instead, he was paying attention to the seemingly endless ancient door in the heavenly palace. It was stained with the aura of endless time, vicissitudes and ancient, but it was still fresh after all this time. It was as if no matter how much time had passed, it was impossible to leave a single trace on this door. On this door, there was a simple and unadorned word that shone with endless light. It seemed to be a divine text carved by a god. Although Jun Haoyan had never seen it before, he could still tell what these words were. Southern Heavenly Gate. It was the legendary Southern Heavenly Gate. Could this really be the legendary Heavenly Palace? Jun Haoyan muttered to himself, looking shocked. Above Mount Tai was the Heavenly Palace. Chapter 238. No matter what, the scene in front of him was unbelievable. How could the legendary Heavenly Palace appear on Mount Tai? Since he didn't understand the reason, Jun Haoyan didn't think too much about it, and continued to move towards the nine-colored altar. When he reached the square in front of the Heavenly Palace, Jun Haoyan suddenly realized that the pressure he felt on the heavenly stairs had disappeared. Even so, Jun Haoyan, who had always been careful, was still very cautious until he slowly approached the nine-colored altar. Jun Haoyan stared at the nine-colored altar in front of him, and a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. The nine-colored altar in front of him emitted an endless blazing light that circulated between heaven and earth, mysterious and powerful. However, when Jun Haoyan carefully observed the nine-colored altar, he could not help but reveal a trace of doubt in his eyes. Looking at the nine-colored altar in front of him, Jun Haoyan muttered to himself with a surprised expression, "This altar is actually just a projection. It's not where the real altar is." The nine-colored altar that appeared in front of everyone's eyes earlier was actually just a projection. Although the projection was very real, the altar itself wasn't in this place at all. The only explanation was that the nine-colored altar might be in this heavenly palace. Rumble. It was also at this moment that heaven and earth rumbled again, and rays of divine light shot out from the void and filled the world. At the same time, the heavenly palace shook, and waves of extremely terrifying aura gushed out, as if it was going to destroy the world. At this moment, in the heavenly palace, an ancient rune filled with abstruse and mysterious aura drilled into Jun Haoyan's dantian, without him noticing, and disappeared instantly. Boom! Then there was another rumble. Jun Haoyan suddenly discovered that the Wushang Heavenly Palace, which was originally located on the 999 level of the heavenly stairs, had descended. At this moment, it actually descended from above, and slowly sat on the peak of Mount Tai. Then the heavenly stairs that everyone was climbing to become a god also disappeared. What's going on? Seeing this, the expressions of Emperor Xia, Guiyue Huang, and the others changed drastically. How did the heavenly palace, which was originally located in the void and unapproachable, suddenly descend? Everyone look, the heavenly palace is descending. This means that we can enter directly. Ha ha ha. This opportunity is not destined to belong to the Holy Son of Haoyan alone. Everyone has a share. Let's go. Charge into the heavenly palace together. When all the martial artists present discovered that the heaven palace had actually descended, they were immediately shocked and excited. In the next moment, everyone rushed madly toward the heavenly palace. Jun Haoyan simply chose to watch from the sidelines. His expression did not change in the slightest. At this moment, the nine-colored altar in front of him had already disappeared. The supreme divine light above the sky palace became even more dazzling. Countless people looked at the heavenly palace in front of them with excited expressions, and rushed inside. However, To everyone's surprise, the South Heaven Gate did not show any intention of stopping them. It allowed them to enter the South Heaven Gate. Brother Haotian, what's going on? At this moment, Emperor Xia and Gu Yuehuang also walked in front of Jun Haotian and asked Jun Haotian in confusion. The two of them also did not understand how a heaven stage cultivator who had become a deity could disappear just like that. After hearing the two of them, Jun Haotian shook his head directly. Just now, he observed that some of the martial artists who had integrated with the heaven stage power seemed to have recovered a little. However, the power that did not belong to them was undergoing a mutation. This mutation was very sudden. If one did not observe carefully, it would be impossible to notice. However, Jun Haotian did not know what this mutation would do and what impact it would have. He just had an ominous premonition. Perhaps, only by truly stepping into the heavenly palace could he solve the mystery in his heart. Let's go in too. Jun Haotian pondered for a moment, then immediately led Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia into the South Heaven Gate. This place was filled with divine light, and so was the entire heavenly palace. It was endless. However, this divine light could not be absorbed, so it could only exist in this hall. However, it could subtly change a person's physical body. If a mortal lived in this heavenly palace, he could live for thousands of years. If a martial artist was here, he would live even longer. Although the divine light could not be directly absorbed into the body, it could affect a person's origin energy. Not only Jun Haotian, but the others also noticed this. This large structure was like the palace of a deity dynasty. The main hall and the side halls were all in it. There was a pavilion every 3 steps, and a pavilion every 5 steps. On the various halls and pavilions, there were all kinds of immortal phoenixes and true dragons carved on them. The aura was indescribable. However, after walking for a long time, Jun Haotian and the rest did not find anything valuable. And all of this could only be discovered after entering the South Heaven Gate. Now they could only feel the aura of this hall from the periphery. However, they also noticed that in this heavenly palace, other than the main hall, the other halls could not be entered at all. It was as if they were in another space. Therefore, whether it was Jun Haotian or the earth cultivators, they could only walk along one path. The person who built this heavenly palace must be an extraordinary person. Using the sea of stars as the foundation stone, I'm afraid even a sovereign would not be so bold. Emperor Xia was extremely surprised. Only a god could build such a palace. Such ability was rare since ancient times. Even if this heavenly palace was not the legendary immortal palace, it would not be too bad. This was something that even a sovereign could not do. We are about to reach the end. There is a 9-colored altar in front. At this time Gu Yuehuang spoke. She looked at the end of the hall. Jun Haotian looked over and saw a 9-colored altar emitting endless divine light. It was exactly the same as the one he saw before, except that it was more solid. Above the altar, stars circled and chaotic aura filled the air. The entire hall was empty except for this huge 9-colored altar. The 9-colored altar in front of them was probably the most important place in this heavenly palace. It was also the most obvious place. However, Jun Haotian felt that it was too obvious. Anyone could see it. The person who built this heavenly palace was definitely a person who dominated the world. He could turn 3 celestial realms into palaces. How could it be so easily discovered by others? One had to know that this was the main hall. Gu Yuehuang looked ahead. She was about to go directly, but she suddenly stopped and said, "What's wrong, holy son of Haotian?" Because she found that Jun Haotian's eyes were completely different from before. Even Emperor Xia, who was beside him, looked ahead with a trace of shock and fear. Yes, it made Emperor Xia fearful. Gu Yuehuang was shocked. She immediately followed the two of them and looked over. On the altar, all the people who had absorbed the power of the heavenly realm were gathered. They were all gathered there. It was extremely strange. Their faces were pale, as if they had lost their minds. They directly cut open their chests and forced out the blood from their hearts. Some even tore open their own bodies and poured their flesh and blood onto the 9-colored altars. Seeing this scene, Gu Yuehuang was shocked. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Those people were fine just now. How did they become like this? Offering their flesh and blood, and merging it all into the altar seemed to be some kind of ritual. How? Holy son of Haotian. At this moment, the warriors of the martial god continent who had listened to Jun Haotian's words were all shocked. Because they did not absorb the power of the heavenly realm, they were naturally not controlled by that power. Now that they saw this scene, they were simply shocked. These people were not stupid. The strange actions of those cultivators were definitely related to the previous heavenly realm. Buzz! Suddenly, the entire nine-colored altar began to change. Boundless blood-red light surged out. Layers of vast aura burst out. Then on the altar, 9 rays of light rose to the sky. Waves of divine power surged like a tide. What's going on? Emperor Xia was shocked. He, Jun Haotian, and the others stood in place and did not approach. Cracks appeared on the 9-colored altar, as if it was a cracked ceramic. A shocking aura appeared in the hall. This was the aura of a god, but it was incomplete. Those warriors had used their flesh and blood to stimulate the mysterious power of the altar. At this moment, Jun Haotian's heart suddenly skipped a beat. A bad premonition arose in his heart. However, the altar had already been activated. It was impossible for it to stop. The heavenly palace, which had been filled with endless divine aura, suddenly became dark and gloomy. The 9-colored altar kept shaking. Jun Haotian and the others only felt the appearance of a shocking power that permeated the world. At this moment, not only Ji Yinhuang and Emperor Xia, but even Jun Haotian saw the most shocking scene of his life. The 9-colored altar exploded, and 2 heaven-defying rays of divine light appeared. The boundless aura of a god in the hall had actually turned into a strange aura of death at this moment. Even an Emperor Realm cultivator would immediately perish if they came into contact with such a dense aura of death. But that wasn't what shocked Jun Haotian and the others the most. It was the enormous coffin that had appeared on the 9-colored altar. Savage dragon heads appeared around the coffin. It was terrifying to the extreme. The entire coffin was covered in black dragons that seemed to be coiled around the coffin. At the very top was an enormous dragon head that seemed to want to devour the void. The most terrifying thing was anger. Every single dragon had 4 legs but 1,000. The dragons were as dense as centipedes. Every single step they took felt like they were stepping on an entire world. Just a single glance was enough to cause Jun Haotian and the others to shudder. There were a total of 9 dragons with 1,000 legs. Emperor Xia was stunned when he saw this, and he cried out involuntarily, 9 dragons bearers. This is a 9 dragons bearers coffin. This is a taboo. It's a supreme taboo that even gods don't dare to do. 9 dragons bearers. This was the first time Jun Haotian had heard this name, and just hearing it was enough to shock him. Meanwhile, a tiny crack appeared on the coffin. Something was coming out. Normally speaking, after a powerful figure died, they would search for a burial site according to their strength and glory. As for the 9 dragons corpse bearers, not even the invincible supremes would dare to do such a thing. Dragons were one of the strongest races in the world. In the history of the Great Era, anyone who used the 9 dragons bearers coffin, even an exalt, would be hated by the primeval celestial dragons if they were discovered. In the end, he would directly destroy the tomb and pull the body up to whip it, because it was a humiliation to the primeval celestial dragons. It was an extraordinary humiliation. Unless it was a supreme existence that even the proud celestial dragons feared. But even a supreme existence would only carve a few dragons on the coffin. But no one dared to carve a 9-headed dragon on the coffin? What kind of person would dare to do such a thing to a true dragon after death? It was obvious that the person inside the coffin was not simple. 9 dragons bearers coffin, burying an extraordinary person. Jun Haotian and the others stood in the distance, their eyes filled with shock. Why is this dragon completely different from the ones we've seen? Guiyue Huang asked. Not to mention cultivators, but even mortals, when they heard about the existence of dragons, a figure would appear in their minds. That was because the existence of dragons was deeply ingrained in everyone's heart. They knew what an ordinary earth dragon looked like, and had seen many of them. They had even seen a true dragon before. But the dragon that appeared before them was like a centipede with 1,000 legs. Even Jun Haoyan and the others hadn't seen such a dragon in their knowledge. This is a dragon from a very long time ago, even surpassing the primeval era. Our Vermilion Bird dynasty's first emperor had seen such an existence written in an ancient book. I've seen information about it in an ancient book, but I'm not sure if this kind of dragon exists because our Vermilion Bird dynasty's first emperor had only seen it in another ancient book. Emperor Xia said slowly. His face was filled with disbelief. It was obvious that he was very shocked. Ever since they entered Mount Tai, they had seen too many legendary things. At that moment, thunder rumbled in the heavenly palace. Thousands of blood-red lights burst out from inside. Emperor Xia and the others only saw the coffin slowly open. Suddenly, a terrifying aura swept out, as if they were back in the primeval era. However, when the coffin was completely opened, there was nothing inside. It was as if there was nothing inside. Emperor Xia took a deep breath and opened his eyes, wanting to see the scene inside the coffin. Unfortunately, it seemed that his cultivation wasn't enough. He couldn't see what was inside at all. Dong! 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 Another rumble sounded, making it impossible to tell whether it was the sound of footsteps or drums. No one could tell, so they could only listen attentively. The Iniaworm coffin trembled slightly. The 9,000-legged dragons seemed to be coming to life in the next moment. At this moment, without Emperor Xia noticing, a blurry figure appeared in front of everyone. Chapter 239. A terrifying aura spread in the void, as if it was going to shatter the space. In particular, the evil power that was like the aura of hell suddenly gushed out from the void. In just an instant, the originally incomparably sacred heavenly palace was dyed an evil pitch-black color. Seeing this strange scene, Jun Haoyan and the others were shocked. Their faces were filled with disbelief. They felt that the aura was very familiar. The aura that the palace was emitting was exactly the same as the aura of Fengdu that they saw on Mount Tai. The sacred celestial palace had turned into Fengdu, which was filled with evil aura. And the reason for all of this was naturally because of the person who kept climbing out of the coffin in front of him. At this moment, the aura of the figure was extremely evil, like a terrifying demon that came from hell. Crack crack, crack crack. A series of bone-chilling noises rang out, as if their bones were being shattered, directly striking at the hearts of Jun Haoyan and the rest. It was as if even their souls were about to be shattered. Finally, after an unknown period of time, the figure in the coffin crawled out. The figure was dressed in black linen clothes and had withered skin. He looked like a zombie as he climbed out of the Iniaworm coffin. His eyes were extremely deep. Even though his body was withered, he still looked very tall as he stood in front of the coffin. Jun Haoyan and the others stepped back slightly when they saw this. Even though they were far away from the person in front of them, they could still feel the evil aura on him. It was as if one would fall and turn into an evil spirit from hell if they were tainted by it. Who is he? Is he the master of this palace? At this moment, some of the martial artists standing beside Jun Haoyan exclaimed in fear. They couldn't help but tremble. They didn't even dare to look up. Even their minds had suffered a great blow. The skeleton-like figure in front of them was too terrifying. His aura was too evil, and they didn't dare to look at him directly. Hearing these words, Jun Haoyan didn't answer. He stared at the zombie-like figure in front of him without saying a word. At this moment, Jun Haoyan had already guessed a few things. The power revealed by the heaven rank all came from that sinister silhouette. After those people received the power, they had already become slaves to it. After that, they were affected by the 9-colored altar and lost their minds. He sacrificed all of his blood essence and poured it onto the 9-colored altar to revive the person in front of him. But even Jun Haoyan and the others had no idea who the person buried in the Iniaworm coffin was. This was because he could no longer be called a human. Although he had the shape of a human, his spine was full of bone spikes. As he walked out of the coffin, a demonic aura appeared. The person in front of him was a devil. It was a devil that Jun Haoyan and the others had never come into contact with before, but they could still sense a trace of human aura. From this, it could be seen that this figure had fallen from a human to a demon. Before he spoke, Jun Haoyan, Emperor Xia, and the others frowned slightly, waiting for his next reaction. Too weak. These people's flesh and blood are too weak. My body is too weak. The figure in front of him opened his skeleton-like mouth, as if he had regained his consciousness. Although the tone of his voice was very strange, Jun Haoyan and the others knew what he was saying through their divine thoughts. How many years has it been? I finally left this place. But this body is too weak. My flesh and blood are not enough. Not enough. He repeatedly muttered something. The hellish aura in his eyes grew thicker, and the aura around him shook. The entire palace rumbled as if it couldn't bear his words. Who are you? What do you have to do with Mount Tai? At this moment, Emperor Xia finally couldn't help but ask directly. He was eager to know who the person in front of him was. He wasn't the only one. Even Jun Haoyan and Gu Yuehuang had the same question. The 9 dragon coffin bearers was a standard that even the ancient sovereigns didn't dare to use, but this person did. Moreover, it was such a strange 1,000-legged dragon. This person's identity was definitely not ordinary. If he was someone from the Wushan continent, there would definitely be records of him. When the figure heard Emperor Xia's words, he raised his head. His pitch-black eyes emitted a sharp aura. In the next moment, the entire palace turned black. Endless hellish demonic aura swept through, as if dragging Jun Haoyan and the others into hell. Especially that figure. Although his body was withered, the evil power in his eyes seemed to be able to make a god fall. Although it wasn't as vast and majestic as imagined, it was extremely dangerous. Even Jun Haoyan had never seen such a terrifying aura. It couldn't even be compared to a supreme weapon. It was so terrifying that it made people feel uncomfortable. Who am I? The figure spoke again. A hint of contemplation appeared in his eyes, as if he was recalling something. The vicissitude in ancient aura appeared, making people feel like they had entered the primordial age. Boom! At that moment, that person seemed to have remembered something. A terrifying black aura appeared around him. It was incomparably dark and terrifying. He looked at Jun Haoyan and the others in front of him. His body became straighter, and his eyes were filled with kindness and arrogance. I am the demon ancestor, Qiyu. I am Qiyu. When Jun Haoyan and the others heard this, they were shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Qiyu. This was a figure from the same era as the human ancestor, Xian Yuan. He was known as the demon ancestor, the ancestor of demons. It was rumored that all demons in the world respected him as their ancestor. The most terrifying thing was the battle between the god world and the hell continent. The demon ancestor, Qiyu, was one of the giants of the hell continent. Although he wasn't the one who created the hell continent, his strength was so terrifying that he had killed a god. If the human ancestor Xianji had not fought with him and destroyed the demon ancestor, no one knew where the entire human race would have gone. That was because the demon ancestor, Qiyu, used to be a human. In other words, demons were another form of existence for the human race. The demon ancestor, Qiyu, was the one who opened this path. Unfortunately, this path of the human race was not tolerated by the heavens and the god world. In the end, it was destroyed. Until now, only Sun Yin was alive. The human ancestor, Xian Yuan, had such a high status because he had battled the demon ancestor. However, what made everyone present feel incredulous was that, didn't they say that the human ancestor, Xian Yuan, had already killed Qiyu in his era? Why would he appear in Mount Tai now? At that moment, everyone felt that they had come into contact with an ancient secret. The battle of that era was not only known to the people of the martial god continent, but also to the people of other continents. That was because the entire human race, including the 3,000 continents, knew of this legend. The demon ancestor, Qiyu, had already died in that battle. He had been killed by the human ancestor Xian Yuan. This was something that everyone knew. However, it had now appeared before their eyes. How could they believe it? However, Jun Haoyan's thoughts were different from the others. Perhaps the demon ancestor Qiyu was still alive. Although it was said that Xian Yuan had killed Qiyu in the battle of the ancient era, that was only a legend. No one knew the specific outcome. Perhaps there was another possibility, which was that Chi Yu had not died but had been sealed. Mount Tai was the place where the demon ancestor had been sealed. However, this was only a guess. Jun Haoyan could not figure out the reason for the appearance of the true dragon and the Hell Necropolis, as well as the Heavenly Palace. He still needed to continue exploring this point. The person in front of him who claimed to be the demon ancestor, Chi Yu, could help him solve this riddle. Isn't Chi Yu already dead? Isn't Mount Tai containing immortal fate? Yes, this is the Heavenly Palace. If it wasn't the Demon Palace, how could it become like this? Impossible. The demon ancestor Chi Yu was killed by the human ancestor Xian Yuan. You can't be the demon ancestor. The warriors present could not accept this result. In fact, even if it was true, they did not want to accept it. The demon ancestor Chi Yu, he was a legendary figure who surpassed the gods in the legends. Even the supreme giants of the god realm could not do anything to him. He was the true ancestor of the demons. They could not face him at all. They did not want to accept that such a terrifying figure had appeared in a place that was supposed to contain immortal fate. As for Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang, although they were puzzled, they did not speak. They just waited quietly for the answer of the man who claimed to be Chi Yu. Xian Yuan is indeed very strong, but he is only in the same realm as me. I have existed since ancient times, and one day, I will rule the world. Chi Yu kept speaking, and his voice was extremely loud and vast, as if it was shaking the space. Every syllable directly pressed down on the hearts of Jun Haoyan and the others, rumbling continuously. These words were like the whispers of a real demon, trying to lead them to fall and become demons. Submit to me, and I will grant you eternal life. When the demon ancestor Chi Yu heard the words of those warriors, his shriveled face appeared to be uglier than a ghost. He walked forward step by step, and the black aura around him swept out continuously. The terrifying aura around him shook like a demon from hell. Just like that, he kept approaching Jun Haoyan and the others. That evil aura swept out and lingered in everyone's hearts. I am the demon ancestor Chi Yu. How can I die? I am an invincible person. Even if the divine king descends, he can forget about killing me. At this moment, the demon ancestor, Chi Yu, kept speaking. His voice was extremely loud and vast, as if it was shaking the space. Every syllable directly pressed down on the hearts of Jun Haoyan and the others, rumbling continuously. These words were like the whispers of a real demon, trying to lead them to fall and become demons. Submit to me, and I will grant you eternal life. Submit to me, and I will grant you ascension. Submit to me, and I will grant you metamorphosis. He kept speaking, and every word went straight to Jun Haoyan and the others' hearts, destroying them. Jun Haoyan, Emperor Xia, and the others were all Guanjiao. Their primordial spirits were stable, and they could temporarily resist this kind of induction. However, it was different for the other warriors. They were directly stunned, and their 2 moons were lifeless. They directly turned into walking corpses and walked towards Chi Yu. Their faces were pale, and traces of black aura lingered in their bodies. No. At this moment, Emperor Xia, who saw this scene, immediately shouted and activated his powerful true origin energy, forbidding the few warriors in front of him. However, at this moment, Chi Yu snorted coldly and directly raised his hand. In an instant, an invincible aura burst out. It directly charged towards Emperor Xia. The latter's entire soul began to palpitate. His entire body was trembling, as if he had fallen into an endless hell. At the same time, even Guiyue Huang and Jun Haoyan were affected. At this moment, in front of everyone present, the originally withered inner body became incomparably tall, like an ancient demonic shadow. Just like that, he stood between heaven and earth, descending boundless majesty. The 3,000 worlds submitted under his feet. Everyone looked at Chi Yu in front of them, and their hearts trembled. Compared to the demonic shadow in front of them, they were really weak, like ants. The real demonic ancestor was incomparably terrifying. Not only could he suppress the 3,000 worlds, but there were not many in the divine realm who could subdue him. I am the demonic ancestor, and I will give you one last chance. Submit, and I will grant you eternal life. If you refuse to repent, I will let you fall into hell forever and suffer for thousands of generations. Qiyu spoke, and his voice was incomparably loud, shaking the void. Guiyuehuang, Emperor Xia, and the others vomited blood at this moment. The black aura that was constantly spreading around also surged into their bodies at this moment. This was the invasion of the demonic aura. Once it completely merged with the two of them, it would completely corrupt them. It was almost impossible for people who were personally lured into becoming demons by the demonic ancestor. They would be demons for life. At this moment, even the two of them were affected and couldn't resist. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan couldn't help but frown. At this moment, he was also under extreme pressure, and the demonic aura was constantly surrounding him. He could determine that this demonic aura was the same as the power of the heavenly stage from before. It was just in a different way. When one reached the level of the demonic ancestor Qiyu, it was almost easy to conceal the source of the power. Previously, the heavenly stage was only an influence. Now that Qi Feng was personally attacking, everyone was under a completely different situation. Holy Son of Haoyan, what should we do? At this moment, Emperor Xia and Guiyuehuang were both under terrifying pressure. They tried their best to expel the demonic aura, but the effect was too weak. If this continued, they would sooner or later become demons and become the slaves of the demonic ancestor. Jun Haoyan was also in deep danger. He had encountered the greatest crisis since he started cultivating. One had to know that they were facing the demonic ancestor Qiyu. That was the demonic ancestor Qiyu that even the self-proclaimed divine king couldn't kill. In an instant, Jun Haoyan seemed to have thought of something. In an instant, his eyes were too bright, and his face was full of smiles. He faced the legendary existence in front of him, and said with incomparable ease, "In that case, please grant me death, demonic ancestor." This sentence made Emperor Xia and Guiyuehuang's hearts tremble. Chapter 240. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Guiyuehuang and Emperor Xia thought they had heard wrong. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Hao Tian's holy son actually asked the demon ancestor Qiyu to kill himself? Was Hao Tian's holy son asking for death? Did he not want to live anymore? Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Guiyuehuang and Emperor Xia were really confused. Even if they were facing the demon ancestor Qiyu, they did not want to die so easily. However, what worried them was that Jun Haoyan's words would completely enrage the demon ancestor Qiyu. At that time, the demon ancestor Qiyu would be enraged, and no one would be able to survive. According to Jun Haoyan's usual style, the two of them knew that Jun Haoyan might have some plan in mind. However, they were facing the demon ancestor Qiyu now. In front of such a terrifying existence, no strategy would work. However, when they saw Jun Haoyan's confident eyes, they were looking forward to it. "What did you just say?" Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, Qiyu spoke again. At the same time, a vast demonic aura swept out in all directions. Qiyu's body was too tall, even bigger than the stars. It was simply terrifying. Just the supreme aura emanating from Qiyu was enough to shock people. If his true strength was unleashed, it would be a terrifying existence that would shock the ages. At that moment, the demon ancestor Qiyu looked at Jun Haoyan with bloodthirst in his eyes. It was as if he wanted to annihilate Jun Haoyan in the next moment and completely erase him from the world. Feeling the bloodthirsty gaze of the demon ancestor Qiyu, whether it was Emperor Xia, Guiyuehuang, or the other surviving warriors, they all felt a chill in their hearts. They did not have the courage to look Qiyu in the eye. They could feel that Qiyu was on the verge of exploding with rage. However, what they did not expect was that Jun Haoyan was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked directly at the tall demonic figure in front of him, with a faint smile on his face. That smile seemed to be mocking fiend ancestor Qiyu. Jun Haoyan was too confident and didn't panic at all when he was in danger. Even in the face of the legendary demon ancestor, he only spoke softly. "I said, let the devil ancestor grant me death." Jun Haoyan's repeated words made the hearts of the people present tremble. In their hearts, they even thought that Jun Haoyan had gone mad. Let the demon ancestor make a move and directly kill him? Only a madman would do such a thing. However, When they looked at Jun Haoyan, they saw that Jun Haoyan maintained a calm expression, without the slightest hint of fear. Upon seeing Jun Haoyan's attitude, Chiyo's expression changed slightly. He did not expect that a person could remain calm in the face of his power. If it was in the past, he could even kill a deity with a slap, let alone Jun Haoyan. In front of him, Jun Haoyan was not even an ant. However, no matter what, that was in the past and not now. He then continued speaking. You are very courageous, but I am the demon ancestor. How can I let you have your way? I will send you into the boundless hell, and make you suffer the pain of the boundless hell forever. Chiyu continued speaking. Chiyu continued to speak. The black light around him began to rise, as if it was going to turn into flames and destroy everything. A powerful aura spread out and filled the entire space. He was like a demon lord who ruled the world, revealing his supreme power. However, when Jun Haoyan heard that, the corner of his mouth curled up. He was completely fearless. Demon ancestor, you can't even kill me. How can you send me into the boundless hell? Once he said that, even Gu Yuehuang looked at Jun Haoyan, as if she was looking at a madman. Who was the demon ancestor? He was a terrifying existence who once fought with the human ancestor, Xian Yuan. He was the ancestor of all demons. Even the supreme giants of the heavenly realm could not do anything to him. Although Jun Haoyan was extremely talented and powerful, he was only in the Dharma plane of the primordial soul realm at most. Even a deity who chased after his entire life was nothing in front of Chiyu. Killing a single Jun Haoyan was a simple matter to him. However, now Jun Haoyan actually said that the demon ancestor could not kill him. This was a complete joke. No one would believe it. However, at that moment, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia suddenly felt the aura of the demon ancestor change. It was a demonic shadow that existed forever. It did not seem as tall as before, and did not seem to be an invincible existence. Could it be that what Brother Haoyan said is true? The demon ancestor can't kill us? At that moment, Gu Yuehuang and Emperor Xia looked at each other and felt disbelief. The demon ancestor, Chiyu, whose name shook the world, could not even kill them? What? Senior demon ancestor, I was right. At that moment, a smile appeared on Jun Haoyan's face. The demonic aura that wanted to fuse with him also melted at that moment. Just like that, he stood there with his body straight. Although he was looking up at the demon ancestor in front of him, his brilliance could not be concealed. Everyone else looked at Jun Haoyan, and then at Chiyu in front of them. Then they looked at each other. This was because they realized that the demonic aura around them had disappeared. This made them a little confused. Without the demonic aura, they suddenly felt that the demon ancestor in front of them was not as terrifying as before. Seeing all this, everyone guessed in their hearts. Could it be that all of this was done by the holy son of Haoyan? It should be known that the demonic aura from before was something that even deities could not touch directly. Seeing the confusion on everyone's faces, Jun Haoyan naturally knew what they were thinking. He immediately began to explain. Previously, we were afraid, which gave the demon ancestor an opportunity to take advantage of us. Now that you know that the demon ancestor can't kill us, you naturally have no fear. Demons originated from the fear in their hearts. Although the demon ancestor was different, his current strength was really too weak. Hearing Jun Haoyan's words, everyone's hearts trembled. Then, they looked at the incomparably tall demon ancestor again. How is this legendary figure weak? Ah, Ji Xianyuan. I'm the demon ancestor. Demon ancestor. How many years has it been? You're already dead. How many years has it been? Why do you still want to seal me in Mount Tai forever? At that moment Chi roared. His words were full of resentment toward the human ancestor. Ji Xianyuan was the original name of the human ancestor. It was also at that moment that everyone present saw the demonic figure in front of them slowly disappear. The hellish aura in the surroundings also disappeared. The heavenly palace once again returned to its previous sacred appearance. However, those cultivators who used the essence of flesh and blood to nourish the coffin were already dead. In front of Jun Haoyan and the others, Chiyu had already returned to his previous withered appearance. His whole body was dried up. He was just sitting in front of the 9-dragon corpse coffin. His aura was more than 100 million times weaker than before. This was Chiyo's current appearance. He had been sealed for too long. Mount Tai was the place where he was sealed. Although he was awakened by the essence of flesh and blood of those cultivators, the human ancestor was still there. The seal and restriction of the human ancestor was still there. The current Chiyu could not break free from it at all. At this moment, Chiyu raised his head once again. His pitch-black eyes looked at Jiang Chun with boundless killing intent. "Kid, how did you see through it?" Chiyo's words had undoubtedly admitted Jun Haoyan's words. With his current strength, he could not kill Jun Haoyan and the others. He could not even pose a threat to them. This was his current state. However, there was no problem with the aura that Chiyu had revealed earlier. Even a god could not see through it. Chiyu could not understand how this Jun Haoyan, who was not even a god, could see through it. As an existence who had lived for so long, he could not believe that he was defeated by such a young insect. However, Jun Haoyan did not feel proud after hearing this. He was still as calm as before. He said softly, "The Devil Lord is a peerless existence. Even a god could not do anything to him. You can say that we are just ants in front of you. A sneeze from you could kill us 1,000 times over. Unfortunately, Devil Lord, you are too impatient. You want us to submit to you. Logically speaking, people like us are not in your eyes. Perhaps only a god could make use of us." Jun Haoyan said calmly. He was very calm and explained his reasons. When the others heard this, they immediately came to a realization. Yes, who was the Devil Lord? It would be too easy for him to kill them. However, he was now wasting his time on them. This meant that Qi Long had no other way to deal with the Ba Jing other than them. Looking at it from the side, the current Qiyu was no longer the Qiyu at his peak. "Even so, how can you be sure that I can't kill you?" Qiyu asked again. He had some doubts, and wanted to clear them up. He wanted to know just how in the world this human, before him, managed to figure it out. Originally, he had no reason to talk nonsense with Jun Haoyan. He was like Jun Haoyan. However, he had been sealed for too long. It was not easy for him to awaken. Moreover, he had fallen into the hands of such a person. If he did not know the cause and effect of this matter, he would not have surrendered. When the others heard Chiyo's words, they nodded. Indeed, even if the Devil Lord did not have the power of his peak, even if it was only 1/10 or 1/1000th of his power, it was not something that Jun Haoyan and the others could resist. However, Jun Haoyan was now sure that Qi Long could not kill them. This was not something that could be easily seen. It needed to be understood. One had to know that when facing such an existence, the slightest difference was equivalent to gambling with one's life. When Jun Haoyan heard Chiyo's words, he changed his expression. He didn't change his bag and spoke softly. "If I'm not wrong, this is the heavenly palace that the human ancestor, Xian Yuan, specially built to suppress you." The 9-colored altar was the eye of the array to suppress the dragon carrying the ruler coffin. "Devil Lord, after you walked out, you did not choose to walk out of the heavenly palace. Presumably, the heavenly palace still has the power left behind by the human ancestor, Xian Yuan. This power is not something that you can break, let alone killing people here. Otherwise, you would not have controlled those martial artists to sacrifice themselves." This analysis stunned Emperor Xia and Guiyue Huang. Their expressions kept changing. They really did not expect Jun Haoyan to be able to analyze so many things in such a dangerous situation. The slightest carelessness could have cost them their lives. Even Chiyo's expression changed slightly when he looked at Jun Haoyan. He seemed to be admiring him, but more than that, he was filled with hatred. "You're really something. I'm afraid you're even more arrogant than Ji Xianyuan before he came back to life. Especially when you ascended the heaven realm, I realized how powerful you are. I'm very interested in you. This is indeed the heavenly palace that Ji Xianyuan built to suppress me. However, it's been so long that a flaw has appeared in the array. It's also something that you did not notice. Using this flaw, I might be able to walk out of Mount Tai. Once I walk out of Mount Tai, I will be able to return to my peak in less than 1,000 years. Do you know what this flaw is?" At that moment, the fiend ancestor Qi Long slowly stood up. The aura around him kept fluctuating. Although it was not very strong, it was very solid. He had been sealed for countless years, but he still did not die. This meant that he was too powerful. Even the human ancestor Xianyuan could not kill him. Even if he did not have the strength of his peak, and was restricted by the heavenly palace, he was still the Wushang fiend ancestor. Otherwise, he would not be able to control the power of the heaven realm. Now that he had escaped from the altar and the coffin, it meant that Qiyu had a way to escape. Seeing this, Jun Haoyan and the others were shocked. They kept retreating, trying to stay as far away from Qiyu as possible. Because just a moment ago, they felt a supreme sense of danger that made them tremble in fear. Don't resist. I am the fiend ancestor. At that moment, Qiyu looked at Jun Haoyan and the others. A drop of black blood that emitted endless light of hell appeared. Just like that. This drop of black blood fused into the fiend ancestor's body. This is a drop of demonic blood that I refined after countless years, and the sacrifices of those ants just now. And this drop of blood can allow me to recover my strength for a moment. Although it's very little, it's enough to deal with you. At that moment, just as Qiyu finished speaking, the black aura around him became denser and denser. His entire body kept shaking. Heaven and earth seemed to be silent at this moment, and the entire space seemed to be imprisoned. That vast power seemed to be able to suppress 3,000 worlds. Although it was only for a moment, the fiend ancestor had recovered a little at this moment. He had regained the terrifying state that suppressed the heavenly palace in the past. The supreme pressure shook, and Qiyu opened his eyes again. In an instant, heaven and earth lost their color, and the entire world lost its color. The terrifying power shook. Just the moment Qiyu opened his eyes, Guiyue Huang and the others fainted, as if they would never wake up. At this moment, Red Dust's hair stood on end, and his primordial spirit was trembling. He could clearly feel that his entire body had fallen into an endless hell, and he could not control it. Especially at this moment, he was getting closer and closer to Qiyu. Qiyu's palms were tightly grabbing Jun Haoyan's chest. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.